Hello and welcome to the Video Game Dads podcast. This is episode 67.
Yay!
Woo! Yeah, 67. Yeah, we are your hosts. We're three guys in a basement talk gaming, fatherhood, and everything in between. We are the number one podcast that has Video Game Dads podcast in the name. I realize this, guys. Like, a lot of podcasts now don't have the word podcast in it anymore. You could kind of tell we're old because, like, the top 30 podcasts, like, only one of them says but it used to be they would say the da-da-da-da-da podcast, the, you know, like, it's anyway.
Yeah,
so it makes me feel
shows or experiences.
Yeah, so it's a very dad thing to leave that in there. It's like the Facebook, the podcast, and I like it. We'll keep it that way. But if we would just be called Video Game Dads, that would probably be a little bit more updated, but we're not going to do that.
That's not dad.
No, that's not dad.
Like, we're really big on MySpace.
Yeah.
On the Facebook. That's our go-to.
On the MySpace.
Just wait for our page to load, and please leave a comment, and maybe you could be in my top 6 friends. You remember that when you got on MySpace?
Oh yeah, no, it was a big deal to get to the top friends.
Yes, you got to pick those. And Facebook, I guess you can now, but like that's not really a big thing. But it used to. I
like how on MySpace you got to be a computer, like a junior web programmer.
Yes.
Do you remember?
Yes, I was.
Do you remember cutting and pasting HTML code into the different the different
widgets?
Boxes?
Yeah,
widgets.
Yeah.
And I remember
I did that in my eBay.
Yeah, you could change your background. You know, you pull in an HTML code and it'll change your background.
Yeah.
Or
it made me feel like a wizard.
Yeah, it was like cheat codes on the internet, but
and people did it so much it ended up looking like those 80s like cross your eyes and you see like a 3D image. It was like a mess.
And you could change your background music too with those codes. Like I had a MyFace page theme was like a weird. It was like an 8-song Weird Al Yankovic loop.
That's awesome. You know what I realized?
You didn't.
It wasn't Freud doing it, but you called it My Face.
Oh, My Face.
And so it was like Facebook and MySpace. And I'm thinking like, oh man,
that's real dad language. Yeah, you know my Face.
Yeah.
That's the most dad thing that's happened.
Yeah, exactly. Spacebook.
That's like the RC Cola of social media.
Exactly.
It's like, well, we don't have this, but it's 25 cents.
The Insta Twitter.
Walmart.
Yeah.
The Walmart soda. Well, anyway, hey, guess what? We go on tangents. We normally record this from like 7 to 11 at night. We get together as often as we can. We try to be like monthly. We used to be bi-weekly. If you've been listening to us over the years, hey, thank you so much. Leave an iTunes review. We will get to those. We'll get to our emails. We will get to our video game book club. First things first, let's say this. There's no cussing. But doesn't mean that there won't be a little bit of adult content and innuendo. Think of us not like PBS. You know, we're not going to be that stuck up, but like the WB.
We're like
remember that?
Yeah,
the
we're
WB?
We're like Adult Swim early evening.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We're not going to be.
We're Aqua Teen Hunger Force.
Yeah, you basically don't eat earmuffs. You can listen to this with your kids in the car, but if we say stuff that they know what it is, then they're old enough to know what it is. Generally speaking, I will say, I keep saying this over and over so many times. Every time I'm like, I can't mute it enough. Someone will just get the F word out. Like, I wish there was more non-cussing. Don't you guys?
Every now and then when we do an edit, if you go back and listen to it, real close, you'll
hear a little bit.
There'll be a little bonus curse somewhere, but we get them pretty much all out.
Yeah, and it's again one of those things when I wasn't a dad.
I've actually had listeners like text us like, hey, at
really?
minute 53.
There's a little something.
There's a little something there,
Yeah, I still think we're above the bar of where we need to be with that stuff.
What if
I swear, so many podcasts I listen to.
Well, even Disney movies, you get like you get a couple of them you can sneak in there and still keep the rating.
Yeah, and keep in mind again, we cuss like sailors as soon as you were off the air. We hit pause or something. We let it out kind of like a balloon or a garden hose. We're full of it. We let it all out. We talk about our favorite curse words as much as we talk about.
We all sound like Sam Kinison. Yeah, when the microphones aren't on.
Yeah, definitely. But we don't do that just to help you guys out, because as dads and parents or anybody else, you just know that kids will repeat that thing over and over. My son has been saying the F word quite a bit, and he knows where to put it in too. He's a lot.
That's funny.
Well, at what point are you a little proud if he's using it in good context?
They use it so well.
They use it correctly, and I don't know how.
My 4-year-old, we bought Top Gun Maverick.
Oh yeah,
like
cool.
to stream or whatever on Amazon.
Heck
Bought
yeah.
it. Air fingers quote, even though we don't really own it.
Yeah,
but. So I was watching it, and I was watching it with my son, but she's in the room, and they don't cuss a lot in that movie, but they do say the S word quite a bit.
Okay.
And
shenanigans. We got you.
Yeah. So my daughter was playing in the room next to where we were watching the movie, and she comes in, she starts saying it. And I said, "You don't say that word. You're not supposed to say that word, especially in front of your mother." And
especially, that's what you said.
Yeah,
especially
in front of your mother.
That's a cool line.
And,
I've never thought about that.
And I said, she goes, "Which word am I not supposed to say?" And then I said, the word you just said. And she goes, "Oh, shh." And I said, "Yes, that word." She goes, "So shh isn't the word I'm supposed to say?" And I said, "No, don't say that word." She goes, "Okay, so it's shh I'm not supposed to say." And I'm like, "Yes, that word." She goes, "Okay, but it's I'm not supposed to say it." And I'm like, "Yes." We did this 4 times, just because she had to get the cuss word out 4 times before retiring it.
Yeah, she learned it, and has she not repeated it since?
No, she hasn't. It's been kind of weird, but yeah, she had to get it out of her
system.
She did. She had to get it out of her system. I still remember the first time my son cussed Grayson.
Oh yeah, you told this story. It's
have I told this story? Yeah,
you have.
Well, I hit we went through McDonald's, and he got his little Happy Meal or whatever. And then I hit the the little speed bump, coming out of McDonald's, and it made caused him to drop a French fry. He goes, "Oh shit!" He was only 3, and it sounded so adorable.
Yeah,
and it was just the perfect use.
Yeah,
and I don't say that word personally, hardly ever. I say other words. That's my wife's word.
And, same with me. My wife has a different word, but they'll repeat the wife's word more.
Yeah, and so I looked over at my wife, and I just pointed at her, and I was like, "That is you. That's your influence." You know. But he he did it so great. But the problem is when they cuss, you have to I mentally in my head I'm like, don't let them see you laugh. Don't let them see you. Because if they see you laugh, then you'll never get it to stop. You're done.
You are done. Yeah, so my son, it's the F word, which again, he used it perfectly, and it's not an anger, it's a, well, wait a sec, a bat just flew by my face type deal. So we're going to replace the F word with freckles, okay? So we're saying, he says, so he gets in the car sometimes, and then he shuts the door, and maybe there was a quick noise, just what the freckles was that? And I'm just like, what? And he generally uses it then. If there's a sudden noise, he'll quickly be like, what the freckles was that? And it's just oh, man, you're using it correctly. It's not at somebody, but you totally can't say that. So we generally ignore. But then if he says it and there's just so much dead silence, he's smart enough to know, there's something there. Because we don't normally just stop talking.
Well, and cuss words are just, for adults at least, they're what you say when you don't have anything better to say. They're just a filler word.
Yeah, some people use it as
there's
a lot of filler.
And then there's freckles. Same filler.
So I don't know. It's just kind of funny though. But yeah, don't ever let them see you laugh, and then you've lost.
Yes, but the problem is, don't look at your spouse too, because then one of them will laugh, and then the other one's either going to make the other one feel bad, or you're both going to laugh, and then you can't stop each other. It's whose line is it anyway?
Yeah, but Top Gun's big at my house. Grayson's going to be Maverick for Halloween.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, he's got his little aviators and a little flight suit,
nice,
thing going on. So yeah, cool. we're big time, and they're not doing. This is the first Halloween where they're not going to do complimentary
outfits,
costumes. Yeah. My daughter's some kind of I don't even know what she is.
Some kind of what?
I don't. It's she's like a Candyland character or something. I don't really know. It's like a dress that's made out of different candies.
Oh, that's cool.
I mean, it's what she picked. I don't know what else to say about it.
Is it Fancy Nancy by any chance?
I have no idea.
Okay.
I try to stay as ignorant of all those things as I can.
All right, I think that's what it's called. Fancy Nancy kind of looks like that. My daughter has one of those costumes too. I know, it's Halloween again. We've already done. We're not going to talk about Halloween candy. We've done that. Go back and listen to one of our old podcasts.
Dude, my wife already bought one of those 5-pound bags of Halloween candy, and I'm like, why did you bring that in here?
Right. I looked at them and I'm like, they're in stock, because you always buy them.
It's the good ones too, with the little candy bars and stuff.
I know, I can't do it because I can't.
The fun size, not the mini, right? That's
Yeah,
what we're talking
the
about.
little fun size ones. Yeah, where you
And they
have
are
to-
the size of fun. They're correct.
they're like the
labeled correctly.
perfect size of fun.
It's great, just not
Perfect
later.
size to eat 10 of in one sitting. That's
I
my
actually would
definition of
prefer
fun.
like a Snickers bar eating the fun size versus like the full Snickers bar.
Oh yeah, if you eat a full Snickers bar,
Because it's like too much.
Yeah, yeah,
You know
you're
what I
li-
mean? But if you got the little ones, it's like, I can eat like 30 of these.
yeah, I haven't
And I
even
will.
seen anybody. I bet you if you look if they let out their numbers, they would be like fun size or quarter size, whatever the tiny size are compared to like sales has to be like 90%. I don't
think so?
see anybody. Yeah, I don't see anybody. Well, let us know. Email us if you go and buy randomly a Snickers. 'Cause
You know,
they
like
hear about it.
if we're on a trip, I'll buy like the king size because they actually have two smaller ones in there. Neither one of which are as big as like a regular size.
Oh, okay.
You know, in the case and I'll like split them, like say we're on a trip someplace. I don't know if you know what I'm talking about, but they'll have like two of them in there back to back. And they're like,
Yeah.
you know, they're a little bit bigger than a fun size, but they're not a full size.
Yeah.
So I do those on occasion.
Yeah, see, and if I get a big one, I'll get one of those weird ones, like when they have peanut butter. Like, you know how Snickers has some weird flavors? I'll like, get one of those. But, like, I just don't...
They have the brownie ones.
Well, they make, like, protein bars so chocolatey now. Like, I get my fix from, like, my little protein bars I have during the day when I'm just, like, in a hurry. But, yeah, I don't go for candy bars that much. Unless, of course, you get... Like what you said, I don't keep them in the house for that very reason. They're amazingly good. The little Reese's, both are good. The quarter size, they're amazing.
I want to say correct me if I'm wrong, I want to say it's like regular, fun size, and then mini.
Mini, you're
Or-
right.
I think that's right. I think
it's-
I think I have the minis because they're the ones
The
that are
fun
like.
size is my perfect because I'm still going to shove the whole thing in my mouth and I'm going to be ashamed of it, but I'm going to eat like 4 of them that way.
Well,
in a
they
sitting.
have some newer ones now. If you've seen Reese's, they have these ones where they're like even smaller than that, and they're not even individually wrapped.
Oh, like they're in a gallon baggie, not a gallon.
Yeah,
but
and they're real
quart
tiny.
maybe.
They look like the minis, but they're half the size of a mini, but they're not wrapped. So it takes like less time. Like I kind of thought it's at least work the barrier to undo all those. And now it's just like and they're like shareable size.
I just want to dump milk
So
in
this
that
is-
bag and eat them with a spoon.
So this
I
is
think.
this is my new idea that's going to make us billionaires.
All right.
Like we're the next 3 Elon Muskas.
All right.
All right. Fun size candy bars with edible wrappers. You don't even have to unwrap them.
Good gravy. You've
Good.
done it.
All right.
Good. What?
What about this? What if you are just describing what is already there because of it? Forget the wrapper. And if you have the edible wrapper, isn't that just the ones that don't have a wrapper on it? Or are they ones with the edible wrapper?
No. You have to market it.
It's how we
correctly.
market it.
Okay.
Yeah, it's how we
it's
present
all
it.
how you present it.
Okay.
yeah.
And well, soon it's going to be like Lifesavers Holes, where they're just going to have the wrappers, the edible
No,
wrappers.
no.
in
We
there.
have to get a celebrity endorsement. You have to pay LeBron James.
But don't get high on your own
to-
supply. It's
to-
going to be a problem with me.
It
and
would have been
selling-
Betty White, God rest her soul. Or Angela
We'll
Lansbury. Dang it.
we'll reanimate Angela Lansbury and Betty White. It's not too soon, and we'll have them advertise our edible wrapper candy bars.
If the
And
rules of
be
D&D apply,
billionaires.
we've got a solid couple of years where we can still get Betty White.
No, man, most people don't even realize she's gone yet. We just put her in the computer program. AI will do it all.
Yeah, just like in Captain America. Ooh, segue to when we get to that. No, I'm just kidding. They put him in the computer.
Yeah, that's right, Hell Hydra.
Yeah. So anyway, if it's your first time joining us, this is a video game podcast. We are. a
Yeah,
bunch of
sorry, we'll get
dads.
to the games at some
Yeah,
point.
and Michael is not here, couldn't make it tonight. We are your hosts. I am Ben.
I'm Adam.
I'm Sean.
Yeah, and you can find us on Facebook.com/VideoGameDads. You can tweet at us, email us at VideoGameDads@Yahoo.com. We always appreciate, we don't have tiered sections for money because we would essentially just be stealing from you. So our podcast is free. The only thing we ask to help us get higher on the analytics is you tell your friends about us, especially if it's it's such an icebreaker. The older we get, can you guys agree that adult conversations just get worse?
And weirder. Absolutely.
Yeah, they do.
It's
Adults
good-
kind of suck to
Yeah.
talk to, because they want to talk about work.
Ourselves included.
Well,
We're
I
not
mean-
pointing fingers.
Yeah, no, when I meet
No,
new
it is.
parents, I just...
It's like meeting other parents is the worst because
Yeah.
it's I like the parents that are around on my kids' football team and stuff, but I don't have know them well enough or have enough in common with them
Yeah.
where we can talk about anything that's like any fun.
Sure.
So it's all
either the
just
sport.
It's all just like, oh, I got to mow the yard this Saturday, or oh man, I hope we can get to the grocery store tomorrow.
Yeah.
I mean, it's all just like bull crap that nobody cares about. It's just super boring.
And everybody feels that way. It's not us being judgmental.
Oh
Like,
no,
they
I know.
feel that
I know
way
they're thinking
back.
the same thing about me. It's like,
Yes.
oh, it's there's some stupid guy I got to talk to just to
Yeah.
keep up social appearances.
Yeah, hopefully they don't say they hate grass or something, because it's like you never know. I remember we had this kid thing and I said the word hippie, and I was just thinking to myself like, can I say the word hippie? They don't know me. I'm just being a jokey, because we were talking about how our son was in the NICU, and I was like, oh gosh, I'm really like thankful the NICU was there and we didn't just have our kid out in the woods like a hippie. And I then just realized, oh my gosh, what if I'm talking to people and they had their kid in the woods? And so you do this thing where you want to be normal, and you're thinking to yourself, you put your foot in your mouth, so then you don't say anything. Now, I don't think they did, but I instantly apologized.
Dude, that's like the story of my life. It would be like the one person that had their kid in the woods that I'd be talking to.
And I'm like, then I would have been like, I'm sorry, like you having your kid in the woods is fine. Just if we did, we wouldn't have had the NICU there, and I'll just shut up and go back in the corner. And I think here's the kicker, and I was realizing while you were talking. Now as adults, if we meet new people, it's not like we don't want to be friends with them or you're not capable. Number one, you don't really have the time because everything else.
Yeah, there's
you do.
there's like an entry level of effort you have to put in.
But it's also the situation of a lot of times you have that, a late night out when you're at the bar with a friend, or let's say you go drinking and it's like a drinking adventure, safe adventure, or like going out and having some sort of like thing where you run into you can't make those stories anymore. Those are the stories of your 20s and your teens and maybe your early 30s. But once the kids come around, it's like you're not going to have that like bonding moment when you guys, you're holding one of the dude's hair back. I think that's what women do. I don't know any friends of mine, but the thing that like is a story that only you know about that would be embarrassing, but they were in the same situation with you. You lose that as a parent.
Yeah, you
because
do.
all then you could talk about is like, oh yeah, my kid was learning how to pee, and then he peed in church and took off his pants.
Your
and threw
life
them
gets
around,
reduced to
or whatever.
I think it was Tuesday night. I got home and the kids were kind of tired, so I got them to bed early.
Yeah.
And it was like 9 o'clock. And I remember being so excited that I was going to get to go to bed at 9 p.m.
Oh.
Like legit excited.
Yeah.
I mean, it made my whole week.
Yeah.
Getting to go.
Were you too excited to sleep? Like
I kind of was. I mean, that was the bad thing about it, because I was like, I was like, why are you so happy? I was like, because I'm going to bed.
Yeah.
You're just laying in bed.
Yeah,
with a big smile
I'm
on your
getting
face.
in bed. Yes, I get in there, get the covers, and
Yeah.
I'm like, 9:15, I'm out, and I like got to catch up on the sleep that I lost over the weekend
yeah.
or whatever. I mean, it was the best ever, but that's being 40. It's that you get excited about the one day a week that you got to go to bed early.
Yeah, and it's better to go to bed early because, as most parents know, I think this is true for me. Even if you want to sleep in, which is always kind of a dream, you just can't anymore. Even if the kids aren't there, my brain is now just so used to waking up.
I wake up at 5 a.m. every day.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter what's going on.
But yes, that's what I'm saying. Like, even on vacation, I found that, yes, the only way you can get is if you go to bed early, that maximizes your... But the whole idea of like, you're going to stay up late, you're going to sleep in, even if you have that luxury and for some reason your kids are watched or you're on a vacation with your spouse, fill in the blank. Tell me email us if that's something you can do. But like, sleeping in is just not a thing. So you might as well go to bed early. It feels so nice, and you wake up not angry, right?
That's rare.
Not upset about something.
Yeah,
I'll tell
that's
you.
rare, but it does happen.
I'll tell you something that happened to me recently. So my wife, we give each other breaks because we don't. I think I've said before in the podcast, if you haven't listened, like we unfortunately don't really have a lot, a kind of extended family to help watch the kids and stuff. So we give each other breaks. So like she'll obviously this podcast is an example, but like every once in a while my wife had actually a girl, her best friend has a house in the city, and then her other friend who's out of town, they had a girls' night where they did it's the equivalent of what we're doing. They bought a bunch of junk food and watched like Grey's Anatomy and movies, and my wife like stayed the night, so they had like an actual sleepover, and two of them are moms, the other one isn't, and they just had so much fun. And it's like You know, you'd think, oh, are they doing something? No, I mean, she brought over all this stuff. Like, there's half a pizza from Little Caesars, because there's never a Little Caesars by our house. Like, they just like did the lamest stuff, just like you should do, because that's what's fun. But what I'm getting at is like, here's the story. Sorry. So she went to do this. So I was with the kids and had to put them to bed by myself.
Terrifying.
And well, my daughter prefers my wife to have her put her to bed. But if my wife isn't there, my daughter will let me do that. But if it's there, it's kind of like, no, you know, it's like Coke or Pepsi. You have your preference. But if there's only one, you're going to just have that one. I guess, if that analogy tracks.
No, you just compared yourself to a soft drink. That was beautiful.
Yeah, and I mean, I'll be
That's
honest.
actually
I
a
am
favorable comparison.
I am the Pepsi for sure. I'll be the first to say it. I'm not the popular Coke when it comes to my daughter. But my son, I am like his whisperer. He's kind of weird to put to bed in terms of like, and I think a parent will understand this. If you're not a parent, I'll try to describe it. He's difficult to put to bed, but there's a way to like, what the guy that the dog whisperer, like how he just like
there's a
like,
strategy.
Yes, there's
an order of operations.
Thank you.
Yeah.
There's an order of operations strategy to him that I can do. So anyway,
I watched him the one time, and you gave me a very strict order of operations,
that's right.
and you weren't harsh about it at all. But you're like, listen, he's gonna do really good if you do exactly these things. We did it. It was perfect. He like led himself through it. You know, he could have done it his own. But you very clearly stated, this is the order.
That's right, and luckily I did that when he still kind of had that order. I forgot what we watched a movie that night. Do you remember? We went to go watch something.
You went to watch Batman.
Oh, that was the new Batman night.
So we hung out with Bash and we watched Spidey and Friends, which was pretty exciting. And you're like, he's going to watch this many minutes of Spider-Man,
Yep.
and then you're going to say, hey, buddy, let's go to the bathroom and brush your teeth at this moment in time, at this time on the clock, and he's going to do it, and then that's how it goes. And like where to turn the noise on, the light on.
Yep. He's got his routine. We've got it down.
He did most of it, and he told me the one thing I forgot to do. So
yeah. So that's credit to my wife. We've been doing that forever. I will say, randomly, luckily in the last 3 months, he has since started to wake up, and this is a new phenomenon. And so this very long-winded story has a point. Sorry. So I was by myself. And his routine, he was waking up every 30 minutes and he wanted water, and it got to be midnight. And of course I'm like, this is the one time my wife isn't here and we can't like trade off. And he's gotten up every hour 4 times because he's randomly gotten scared at night. This is just like a developmental normal thing. Like he's scared of a shadow and he just keeps waking up and wants the light on. And I'm just not used to dealing with it. So I'm like, okay, I'll go get him water. I am tired as heck. And I think I showed you guys the injury. Keep in mind, I'm the only adult in my house. I go downstairs, get a drink of water, realize the light's on, and I'm like, oh crap, I gotta turn it off. So like, you know, I turn. But I turn on stairs with socks on. And these are wooden stairs. So then what happens is I proceed to have like, what's a higher level, like the moon's gravity? What's higher gravity than the Earth right now?
Oh, like Jupiter?
Okay, so it turned into Jupiter in a split second, where like my socks caused me to slip down the stairs, which then my body, trying to brace it, throws my legs in the air. So now I'm falling with like a hard velocity. I try to grab a wall, I guess, and then I like burned my wrist. I had a burn mark on my wrist where I just sheared off all of that, and I slammed my back on the hard stairs. And it happened really quickly, and it was pretty violent, and I'm laying on the ground, and I'm instantly thinking, oh, I'm the only adult in this house. I don't know if I can walk.
Yeah, hey, little buddy.
Yeah.
9.
Yeah, so my body went past the point of like screaming in pain, and I knew I was in a lot of pain, but I was just like at this point like, okay, what are the pieces I need to pick up? Is my phone close enough if I got to call?
Did we as a collective just have our first, what do you call it, the button life alert moment?
Yes.
As a group?
Yeah, no. So anyway, I'm not trying to be dramatic, but I took a dang fall. I took like, if I was an old man, ribs would have been, if I would have hit at a different part of my back, ribs would have been broken. Or if I would have hit square across the back, I don't know what I would have done to my spine. I had this huge bruise. Didn't I send you a picture of that when I was like, hey, check out this injury? And like, I had to send it with context, or you guys would have thought like, you know, blink twice as my wife hurt me or something like that. I don't know. Anyway,
I slipped in the shower.
Yeah. That's how I get all my injuries is falling. But anyway, it was just a gnarly hit. And I was in so much pain, and luckily I was able to kind of get up and stand up, and I had enough wherewithal to be like, okay, I shouldn't take a bunch of ibuprofen if there's some bleed going on somewhere and then go to bed, but I need to go to bed before this hurts a lot. So I put a bunch of ice on, and anyway, my wrist hurt forever for like probably a whole week. I thought it could have been broken. I thought about going to urgent care the next day, and then I did, but here's the thing, I did not tell my wife about it until the next day after she had breakfast and she got home. And then when it was about 11 o'clock the next morning, and again, I'm another 10 hours, I was just like, honey, I love you. Can you just come home? I got to tell you something, but don't freak out. Because she would have been like, why didn't you let me
And then
know?
they proceed to start freaking out.
Yeah, I know. I was like, don't freak out. But like, I almost died when you were gone. But I instantly thought about the kids and how messed up I was and how stupid I was for falling down the stairs like an idiot. But boy, yeah, like injuries make you feel old, and they just happen more and more.
Kids, man. Kids at bedtime. Kids overnight. It's awful. My 4-year-old has gotten this thing where she's starting to wake up at night too, except she says the creepiest thing you can possibly imagine, in the middle of the night too. So she'll wake up and like come into the room or whatever, and you'll be like, "Why? What are you doing?" She'll say something like, she told me once, "There's a family that lives on my ceiling."
Oh, yeah.
And I'm like, "Oh, that's terrifying. Can you point them out, or whatever?" She's like, "Oh, they're all right there. There's the mommy and there's the daddy."
And there's nothing there.
Yeah,
Right?
there's
I'll call
like
the
nothing
realtor
there.
and we
Yeah,
will.
but I can't even remember all the things that she said, but it's always like something kind of like that. And this happens about once a week where I'll be like, "Oh, what are you doing in here?" or whatever. And she'll be like, "Oh, there's a little boy that just ran through my room and now he's in the closet," or something, and you'll be like, "Oh, okay, go back to bed."
Yeah. Okay, see you later.
Yeah, awesome. Back to sleep, and the funny thing is, like, she immediately goes back to sleep, and I'm the one that's like,
Yeah.
You go lock her door. You
yeah,
lock her in the room.
can't. I'm the one that can't go back to sleep. She just goes right back to bed or whatever.
Oh.
But she says like the creepiest thing you could possibly imagine.
I instantly am like, that's like Dennis Nedry when he turns around from the Dilophosaurus, and then he's like, "Oh, okay, that's nice. Gotta go."
No, I'm serious. Sometimes I'm like scared to ask her what she's doing because
Yeah.
she just will say like the creepiest thing imaginable. But I don't think
that's
think
funny.
any of us have it as bad right now as Sean.
Yeah, I know. Let's get to this. So, Sean, you have a little bit of news. Would you say?
Yeah, pretty big news. There are 2 tiny humans living in my house with my wife and I now. It is our first time as foster parents. We have 2 newborn twin girls. They are almost 3 weeks. They'll be 3 weeks old tomorrow, and they are healthy, but they are tiny.
Hey, let's do a clap here. Congratulations!
Thank you.
Congratulations!
I've never been more tired in my life, so
Yeah,
there's
man.
a threat of falling asleep on a podcast. But it's been great. We've had them they're 3 weeks old, so we've had them for 2.5 weeks,
Phew.
and they are the cutest, loudest things I have ever been around in my life.
Yeah, and 2, it was like, right? I mean, diving in the deep end. We can't say any of this, right? Like,
Yeah. I mean, 1 is a lot of work. I mean,
Yeah, you always think about that. If you're someone who hasn't had twins, you think about this like on your late nights. You're like, oh, those people who have multiples, how do they do it? And like you got to not even
especially the first few weeks until they get nights figured out. And
Yeah.
It's not twice as hard, but everything does take twice as long.
Yes.
Right. So if you're working a night shift, if Heather takes the 11 p.m. feeding, and then I've got the 2 p.m. feeding, it's not 2 to 2:30. It's 2 to
2 a.m.
2:50.
You mean or something?
2 a.m. Yeah,
Yep.
for that formula feeding.
And it might be 2 p.m. because that's the other thing
Or
you have found,
whichever.
right? Time is but a number, right?
And
Right.
guess who works from home? Listen, foster care. There's no paternity or maternity leave for foster care, and one of us works at
Oh.
home. So me and these babies are getting to be real good friends. But
Wow, I never thought about that too. You're right. In this country, right? Or I guess it depends on the
I
employer.
have no idea in other countries, or maybe it's by employer. I suppose
by
you could
employer.
have an employer who might support that notion.
But no, that's talk about another thing like we don't even think about. But like, holy cow!
We-
Yeah, you guys are doing a lot. That's awesome.
We knew that my employer wouldn't have paternity leave and that hers wouldn't have maternity leave, but that mine would be super cool and flexible about my
Right.
schedule and work as long as I get my work done.
Great.
And so doing that, I don't know how to say this nicely, not that they'll ever listen to it. We didn't want to, but a couple of saving graces. First of all, this is kind of short term. not real long term. And then so there's like that light at the end of the tunnel, which will be terribly sad when it happens, but at the same time,
Yeah.
if you're going to tackle newborn twins, maybe that's not the worst thing in the world.
Right.
And then second of all, infants are so in demand in the foster world that you kind of got to be ready to say yes to something unexpected, I guess. So we went ahead and said yeah, gave it our first crack, and so far so good, other than the extreme tired part.
That's great. Yeah. Yeah. If you're not questioning your own existence, or you're not like finding yourself like in another part of town, you didn't know how you got there, you're winning. Because like taking care of kids, tiredness is there. But if you don't feel like you're constantly messing up if you feel like if you're messing up all the time, completely normal.
Yeah,
Good. I was just about to say that's been my
that's
whole.
absolutely
Okay,
normal.
good. Yeah, I was gonna say because like
Yeah, and there's 4.5 years between mine, and that's enough time elapsed between the two that by the time we had the second one, I was sitting there going, okay, I think this is the way you're supposed to do it, and you kind of hold them like this. But Indy, when we brought her home, she was premature, so she only weighed just a hair over 4 pounds. When
I
we
didn't
brought
know
her
she was
home.
that
Yeah,
small.
so she
I
was.
forgot that.
She was
That's
tiny.
that is tiny.
And I mean, like, just a handful of baby is all she was. And she was just frail and thin,
Yeah.
even aside from being really small. So she just felt super breakable. You know what I mean?
Sure.
So everything I did with her, I felt like took twice as long. I mean, it's not the same as having twins, obviously, but just because she was so fragile feeling, you know what I mean? Like everything just felt like she was going to break, every time. And when we first got her, like family and stuff was like scared to hold her because she was so small, you know, because everybody was worried about breaking her.
Yeah. I think it's like I forgot that because I remember seeing her early, but she was so bundled up. It's like you couldn't tell. It was like,
Yeah, and I mean,
the old secret of winter wear. Like,
Yeah,
that's why I
and-
love it's getting cold again. Like, hey, if I gained 10 pounds or didn't, you can't tell. I'm wearing a sweatshirt.
Well, and she, she filled out really fast after that.
Yeah.
Man, she was tiny when we brought her home,
Yeah.
and you see it and you're just like, I mean, I'm sure you're experiencing this with your kids. You just think, God, that's like a whole person.
Yeah.
And it's just this tiny little thing.
It's the fun size, or the mini size.
Yeah, the mini size person.
Yeah,
you know?
except though constantly, it's from what I've heard, is like you go in, they constantly check their weight and like, you have to keep. Like I've heard if you've got underweight kids, which I haven't had to deal with, but I heard that's a constant thing with like them saying like, you got to eat more, you got to get a hyper focused on the weight. That doesn't sound fun.
No.
But it's very gratifying though. So these girls were pretty small. They were like 4'11", 4 pounds 11 ounces.
If they're gaining weight with you.
That was immediately gratifying. As we got them at like 4 pounds 11 ounces,
awesome.
which was pretty.
So
close
they were
to
little
where
tiny then. Yeah.
They were, but they didn't. I don't know how to say it nicely. First of all, we didn't know any better, right? We're not real experienced with babies. And then second of all, they looked healthy and they were healthy, and the doctors reassured. Right? It wasn't. They weren't even preemies. It was like 3 weeks. And
yeah, twins tend to weigh a little bit less, I think.
Just twins?
Just because of less space.
So to us, it didn't make any difference. But then my mom and dad came just to give us some reprieve for a weekend, and my dad was just terrified to hold this tiny creature. But then it was very gratifying. Within a week, they'd put on almost half a pound. So it felt like, we're doing something.
Oh, good.
Of all the questioning yourself and life choices, that was really gratifying.
Yeah, and especially if you think, like, again, it's most people listen to us have kids, but a lot of listeners don't. You have to understand, like feeding kids, they eat a lot, but it's like a strainer. It's like you're constantly pouring liquid in a strainer. It just comes out the other end. So you're like, I get why they don't gain weight.
So slow.
So much is coming out.
It's so slow. Oh my! I couldn't believe how slow they drink. I mean, it makes sense, but I never would have assumed.
Yeah, it depends. You don't want it the other way though. My son especially just guzzled stuff down. It was like he was a college freshman.
Then they start throwing up. Yeah.
Yes, exactly. They just let it down, and you're just like, they want more, and then all of a sudden it's like Exorcist, and it's projectile. It goes really far. That's the other thing. You're like, I know what vomit is. You lean down. No. Kids don't lean down.
I think I got to the point where
goes 4 feet.
I didn't even know what soured milk smelled like. Because you get used to it, right?
If you guys are eating,
sorry,
well,
but yeah, you just get irked on, every hour or two for a couple of months. It gets to where you can't smell it.
Yeah,
as dumb as that sounds.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
I would be having to do like IRP checks on my shirt and stuff just because
before you leave the house.
Just before I go out the house, because I don't know, because I know that I'm not going to be able to smell it. You know what I mean? So I'd have to visually look around on my own shirt just to make sure I was clean. But that's being the parent of an infant.
That's awesome. Okay, so real quick, and just be honest here. Best and worst thing so far about this new fatherhood. And I know this goes for your wife too, but I mean, she's not here, so you just give your perspective. Don't feel bad about saying how you're feeling. Like, what's the best thing and what's the worst thing? Knowing we're not saying about the kids, we're just saying about this whole fatherhood thing.
And with all due respect to us, my wife does not listen to us at all, so I could say anything pretty safely. So, worst thing, I'm a bad sleeper to begin with. So, you hear all the parent jokes about you never get any sleep.
Yeah.
It's not totally true because my wife will fall right back to sleep. Like, she'll do she's taken the 2 a.m. feedings just because she's so much better at laying down and, like, back to sleep. So, the worst part is just that I'm not a good sleeper and I don't fall asleep fast or well.
Okay. That's usually one of the two. Most of the time, it's the lady, because they always say, like, how can you guys sleep through it? But it depends, and it just. What about you? Who's the heavier sleeper?
So I have more trouble waking up than she does.
Me too. Yeah.
But she's a lot easier to go back to sleep than I am, because once I'm awake, I'm awake.
Okay.
And if it happens to be at 1 a.m. or 3 a.m., it's going to take me at least another hour, even after I'm finished, to get back to sleep.
Yeah.
Yep.
So that was always really hard for me. So I'm in the same boat as Sean. That was the hardest part for me.
All right. So I'm then the stereotypical guy of this group, where like I will not wake up because my brain, I guess, knows because my wife would be like the next morning and I'm waking up and I'm like, it's Disney morning, fresh as a daisy, and she's looking at me like she just got, thrown through the trees or something like that. She looks terrible, and I'm like, no, I didn't know. And she'll even nudge me or push me, and it like I don't wake up.
Thankfully,
but if she's not there, I do, because my brain then goes into, well, no one else is. So it's weird how your brain works. I don't do it on purpose. I don't sit there and like pretend to close my eyes. But anyway, okay. So that seems to be the worst thing is, yes, lack of sleep and constant lack of sleep. You can't constant.
I know
Yeah.
Thankfully, again, my wife's taken the bad shift, so that's kind of nice. And then weekends, now that we're not doing anything, I can usually catch some pretty good naps on weekends.
Yeah.
Best part by far, no question at all, is after you feed them, these little girls are both arm wavers. I don't know if that's common with babies. They just kind of all over the place with their arms.
Huh.
After you feed them, they both, when you're about to burp them, they kind of curl up into the fetal position with their legs.
Yeah.
And then they stretch their arms out, and it looks like they want to give you a big hug. So they stretch their arms out, and you put them on your shoulder, and you burp them, and it feels like a good snuggle. And I know they don't want to hug you, but it feels like they do.
Oh, no.
So that's my favorite, is when I got them one hand right on my left pec usually, and burping with the right hand, and it looks like they're giving me a little hug.
Yeah.
Warms my heart.
And that's just it. The warm in the heart. That is the thing that luckily gets us, which is why, because like it is. Yeah, it's the most important job in the world. It is the most important. It is the most important thing you'll ever do. It is the most
so rewarding.
No, there is like part of you that constantly wants to jump out of a window, but that part that keeps you in the window is those little eyes and that little face and that little feeling and that little wry smile.
That little bloated full face that they make, where it looks like they are about to hurl on you, but they don't.
And it
all
does.
The time.
It's the yin to the yang of it. It's there, but thank God, because if it was all yin, I mean, well, we wouldn't be around.
This was always my thought. I've said this several times with my wife back when we had kids too. I'm actually impressed with us as a species, because we're sitting here, having babies and raising them in like air conditioning and like with a roof over our head and everything else. They used to do this stuff like in the woods in a lean-to, while you're getting rained on. And
those
things
hippies in the woods with their babies.
But I mean, I'm talking about like before modern conveniences. You go back more than a couple hundred years ago, people were just doing this like literally out in nature. And the fact that the people who are ancestors who are undocumented, they didn't even have written language or anything, were able to pull this off.
Yeah. And
make the next generation happen, year after year. It shows you, A, how important raising the next generation is, or how important it has been historically.
Right.
And two, I just think humans, unlike other animals, a baby deer comes out and, it's a fawn, but it comes out and it's walking, like, just a couple hours later, like it's moving, it's starting to do things on its own.
Yeah, figure it
out.
We
are so helpless for so long, and we take so much effort to raise. it really is a testament to us, kind of, I think, as a species, that we've been able to perpetuate ourselves.
When you compare that to the fact that I spend like 5 minutes just making sure the zipper on their little zipper swaddles isn't going to like stick up and strangle them, to the fact that 200 years ago it was just happening out in the woods.
I just have always found that fascinating. Just that because I know how hard it is in the modern world to raise a baby.
Yeah.
But the fact that people used to do it, without all the modern conveniences, I just find that kind of astounding. And not only did it, but did it like time after time after time after time.
Yeah.
Actually grew.
Yeah. Well enough. I mean, obviously mortality is mortality.
Yeah,
rates,
but I don't know. I just find that kind of fascinating.
Yeah.
But we probably ought to talk about video games.
No. Well, yeah, raising kids. No, but I completely agree with you. I think that's very true. And I think that, like, at the end of the day, like what our first thing we said, you should get some time off work. It does make me get a little old man on the lawn of like, yeah, we shouldn't have to fight to raise these kids. And it takes a village. And your whole thing about the zipper, yeah, because we've evolved to care about all this stuff, and then they sell us these like magical random things like sleep sacks and all this stuff. There's a comedian I read recently, I forget his last name's like Birbiglia or something. Mike Birbiglia. He's got a great bit on it. Yeah, have you seen that? I have. It's great. So anyway, watch it. It's on Netflix. Mike Birbiglia does something about, and he's a guy that was one of those people that a lot of people are like this, where they're like, I don't want kids, I don't want them. He ended up having them. He has a great story about it. And then at one point on stage, like, all this baby stuff gets thrown out. He's like, this is what your life is. And somehow he has, like, probably about, what would you say, like 1,000 pounds worth of baby junk fall from the sky during his set. It looks like a full semi-load of stuff just falling out of the ceiling. It's remarkable, and it, like, catches you off guard, and it's the coolest thing ever, and it's so on point. And then he finds certain things and picks it up. And he's like, this is like a month or whatever, yeah. Yeah, and this thing, and this one, and you need it right here. And anyway, so it's just quite interesting that, like, yeah, there's so much stuff, and there is so much work to do. Like you were saying, Adam, you're right. It is a lot of work. Yeah, we should pat ourselves on the back right now. You're right. This is my patting myself on the back. Last night my wife went to like her quilt guild, right? And I watched the kids, and so tonight my patting myself on the back is leaving to come here and talk about video games, and then maybe take a nap on the floor before I go home. Yeah. Yeah, you're in the thick of it. You guys seem to be doing great. Those kids are lucky to have you, and you're lucky to have those kids, of course, back. And that sounds like a wonderful situation, and also, frankly, a little happy to be past that situation we are right now. Yeah, dude.
Yeah, I couldn't go back at this point. Every now and then people go, "Oh, you gonna have another one?" And I'm like, I'm too old. I can't. I don't think. Yeah. I don't know. I mean, I could do it again if I had to, but at the same time, like I'm old enough at this point that if I hit the reset button, I'm never going to retire.
Oh yeah.
I start thinking about, well, how old am I, and then how old are the kids going to be, and all this kind of thing. It's like, no, I gotta get to the point where I don't have to work like 80 hours a week.
Yeah. You just don't want to get to the point you're throwing the ball from the porch. Yeah, exactly. You gotta really think, like, am I going to be, is this kid going to be outrunning me when they're 2 or when they're 12? All right, so I got an idea. Everybody else has already tuned out if you haven't listened. We have this video game show. We have this video game book club. We got to get to it. But first, what do you say? A word from our sponsor?
Yeah.
All right. Here's a word from our sponsor. We will be right back.
I hate to say this, but Bernie, it appears as if somebody's trying to defraud the company.
Gentlemen, this is good work. Very, very good work. How would you two like to come to my house at the beach?
The man absolutely loves us.
Don't kill them while I'm around.
Forget the accident with the 2 guys. Take care of Lomax.
Ow! Ooh, what was... Oh.
Hello, Bernie! We're here! Larry Lomax is dead.
What kind of a host invites you to his house for the weekend and dies on you?
He's the one who's been stealing from the company. Son of a... Bernie? He's gonna have us killed?
Lomax told whoever he's talking to not to kill us if he's around, right?
Yeah, but Lomax is dead. He's not around anybody anymore.
I know that. You know that. Nobody else knows that.
Welcome to Bernie's Place.
Hey, Bernie! Ladies! Hello!
Where the parties are to die for.
Hey, Bernie.
Bernie! Oh, Bernie!
You're really Liz.
Doesn't anyone realize he's dead?
The women.
Hey, is Bernie around?
are drop dead gorgeous.
Oh my God!
And the host
Where's Bernie? I'll kill him if he's cheating on me.
is a little stiff.
He's in the bedroom.
I gets laid more dead than I do alive.
Hold the boat! Got it!
Dive in to the ultimate 80s comedy.
This is tougher than it looks! You hear something? What that is? What is that?
Weekend at Bernie's.
There it is again! Hand overboard! Oh, Bernie!
All right, the Video Game Book Club brought to you by a new movie coming out called Weekend at Bernie's. Sounds interesting, doesn't it, fellas?
It just looks so wacky.
Yeah. Huh.
Huge blockbuster. Can't wait to watch it.
Yeah, it looks great. I mean, the concept seems kind of odd for 2022, but we'll take it. We appreciate it. What is it? New Line Cinema. I always think about that. Like, you guys remember, like, now there's only like 3 studios left.
So
and it's
I just watched two New Line Cinema Studios movies just this week.
Oh, really?
I watched Critters 1 and Critters 2.
Yeah.
Have you ever seen Critters?
It's
Not
been a
like
while,
a decade.
man.
Dude, they are
It's been a while.
so good. Like, I haven't watched them since I was a kid.
Yeah.
They're the best bad movies.
Okay.
I mean, seriously. They actually aged better than I thought they would. But yeah, Critters brought to you by New Line Cinema. But they also did, Nightmare on Elm Street, I think. And they did the old Ninja Turtle movies.
Yeah.
It seemed
I
like
can
everything.
picture the
They did the
logo,
Spawn
the-
movie. Yeah, but they, like, all the stuff that was a little offbeat.
Yeah.
That was like New Line Cinema.
Yeah, I miss all the old, there's one with like a unicorn and a white horse running and then it pauses. Like I remember
TriStar.
Yeah. Or then there's another one that looked like the old OCP RoboCop freaking logo.
They're like Celadon or something.
Yeah.
It's like the C shape.
Yeah, the C thing. It's a
I
bunch
know
of
way too much
Cs.
about movie intro.
That's what I'm
logos.
saying.
Yeah.
Like
I'm not even familiar with the Celadon one.
I would just watch those over and over,
Yeah. No, I'm kind of the same way because I was actually made the comment to my wife when we were watching Critters when it showed New Line Cinema. I was like, all my favorite movies when I was a kid were New Line Cinema movies.
Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles were burned into my brain.
Oh,
so that's
yeah.
my first one that I can think of.
Yeah. Or like
I've already made Grayson has watched the original Ninja Turtles movie way more than he ever really wanted to, just because I have the laser disc.
Oh, nice. Yeah.
Which is probably the best possible
It
way to
probably
watch
is
that movie.
It probably
yeah.
is the best way to watch it.
I remember seeing that in
Amazing.
the theater. Oh, it was such good times. Anyway, so Weekend at Bernie's sounds like fun. I'll never get made again, and that's okay. And there's this hypothetically in the future there might be a second one with double the budget.
If you go watch this one, give them your money, show them your support.
Yeah.
Maybe
they'll make a second one.
Maybe
It's like
in the
them on
second one you'll see a fun beach
Yeah,
scene.
I actually just rewatched that movie the other day. I mean, before it came out, I got
We got to keep this going.
Yeah.
We got to keep this
Podcast fame brings
All right.
sneak peek movies.
Well, Weekend at Bernie's brings you our patented video game book club. And if you're just joining us or you want a refresher, Video Game Book Club is a segment in which we play a game that is picked out by either us or our listeners or both most of the time that is not in the top 15% of whatever system library of game they come out. So if there's 100 games, it wouldn't be in the top 10. This is like a Nintendo, the Zeldas, the Marios, this kind of thing. We try to be somewhat obscure, and we play them in between episodes and then talk about them much like a book club, hence the name. So, we had a dad pick and a listener pick. Our dad pick was Captain America by yours truly. And then our listener pick was Running Wild for the PS1 by, I believe, Barry. Go back and look. Sorry, we didn't get an email, luckily, about you correcting it. That's been in the stew for a while. So what do you say? You guys pick. What would you like to do first?
Let's do Running Wild first.
Oh, okay, all right. What do you got on the old Running Wild for the PS1?
So, Running Wild is a PS1 release. This came out in North America and Europe in October of 1998. It was a 989 Studios production.
Oh, here we go. 989 Studios.
I think 99.
Talk about logos. That's a
yeah,
great
they
one.
did. It was kind of a classic logo.
Love it.
They mostly did like sports games and stuff.
They did a lot of
Twisted Metal 3 and 4.
and action games, but then this is kind of up their alley, so I get it. This is a sport.
It is kind of a sports game.
It's like sports
sort of
meets Twisted Metal. It's the perfect cross section.
Yeah.
So this game is it's kind of unique, I guess. So if you can imagine Mario Kart minus the kart.
Yes.
And minus the Mario too, I guess.
And minus Mario, but anthropomorphic.
Yeah, so you've got people like animals, biped animals.
Yep.
You've got 6 of them.
Yep.
And this is essentially a kart racer, like Crash Team Racing or Mario Kart or Sonic All-Star, Transformed, or one of those, except you don't have a car. Your little guy or gal is physically just running on their feet.
Yeah, it's basically a racing game, which you would think would be an Olympic game, but they totally just turned a racing game into a running game. And it, like what you said, like this is more a racing game where you happen to run, and not a running game that is like an Olympic game. If that makes any sense without you knowing what we're talking about. This is Pen Try Isolon is also the first game I played like this, so I didn't ever play this.
There's a game called Mad Dash on Xbox.
Oh, Mad Dash.
That was like this too.
What's the Sonic one where they're on? It's a Saturn game, right?
Sonic R.
Yeah, Sonic R, I think is
what which stands for running. I have no idea.
I always get Sonic R, Sonic Jam, or whatever.
Oh, is it? Oh no, you're right. I think it's Jam.
Is it Jam? I don't know. There's like this whole sort of niche of these Sonic games.
I think it's R, and I think Jam's the other Saturn one. I think.
Okay.
Don't quote me on that.
But yeah, I always get those two mixed up. But in any respect, it's kind of weird. It controls a little bit different than a kart racer. It sort of has an inertia to it, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
But it kind of makes sense when you see the character and the character model. But it looks a lot like if you've ever played Crash Team Racing. The graphics and just the way that it overall looks and plays, probably the most similar game I could think of to kind of compare it to is Crash Team Racing. But
and it is such a nostalgic PS1 looking game.
Oh yeah, super PS1 looking.
And this is something that is hard to quantify because of the polygons, I guess. But like with the warping and stretching, PS1 has its own look, just like Super Nintendo, just like the twang of the noise of Genesis. This is such a PS1 game, like from the pickups to the sound effects to the screen warping. I didn't know this game existed. Did either of you even know it existed?
No, I think this game basically just got lost in the pile of PS1 releases.
Yeah.
I remember, because I was an N64 kid, and I remember picking up things like EGM, Electronic Gaming Monthly.
Yeah.
And they would have the review section in the back. In the reviews, there'd be like 1 to 5 N64 games.
Yeah.
And there would be like 55 PS1 games. There might be a couple of Saturn games. Maybe a 3DO game or something still at this time in there. But it was just so many PlayStation games.
Yeah.
And I think that this is just one of those games that, had it been on N64 or whatever, people would have remembered it and probably had a lot of nostalgia for it.
Agreed.
But just because it was on PS1, it kind of, like a lot of other releases, sort of just got buried in the pile.
Yeah, lost in the shuffle. I never, and the cover, like I must have seen this, but this has to be the Toyota Corolla of car cover, because we had to have seen this thing on a shelf somewhere. We've seen a
it was a major studio release. I mean, it was like one of their first party studios, and so that it had to have wide distribution and probably had a fair amount of sales.
But that's what this book club is for. It's to point out a game like this. I feel like when I started playing it, I was thinking, okay, transport yourself back to if this listener was younger than us, because PlayStation days, I would have been too cool for this game. 1996, 1997. I'm a freshman in high school, but if you go to middle school, elementary school,
would have been peak Sean time.
Okay,
for that kind of stuff.
Yeah. If this probably, I only
know what played sports games, racing games, and Mortal Kombat games around this time.
Yeah,
ironically, I missed a lot of this generation, but I would have been the right.
You would have been the right.
But
age
N64
group,
PS1 was probably my biggest gap in gaming. As we go through our Pop 100, you'll notice.
What I'm getting at is if I would have been the right age for this game, oh my gosh, I could see why this is a book club pick. This is unique. It's kind of like a kiddie game where it's like a game that you can play probably if you're 6 or 7, not be great at it. But this is like the wave race right? I mean, say like how old is I? Nah, Wave Race would have been around the same time. I'm just trying to think like the first Mario Kart. If you didn't have a Nintendo, my whole thing is a lot of kids that were younger would have had a Nintendo system at this point. I didn't know a lot of kids that like only had a PlayStation and they were like 8.
Or if they did, they were the youngest sibling and it wasn't theirs.
Well, PlayStation at the time, I remember, at least from a marketing perspective, I mean, it was sort of Crash Bandicoot outside the Nintendo headquarters.
Tremendous commercials.
Yeah, we're the games for like the teenagers, the cool kids, and that's the baby toy over there.
Hey, plumber boy.
And so this kind of, even though it's a sort of a first party release or from a first party studio, it kind of cuts against the way PlayStation was marketed.
Yeah,
because PlayStation was more marketed to games like Twisted Metal, perhaps, or Crash Bandicoot, something a little edgy with a little bit of
Metal Gear
90s,
Solid, just
serious,
90s snark, or
this
a little
came
bit
out
more
the same
serious,
year as Metal Gear Solid.
Yeah,
what the heck?
So this kind of cuts against that. I mean, it was clearly meant or intended for a wider audience, sort of an E for everybody type release.
Yeah.
So that's probably also why you didn't hear as much about it, just because it didn't go with the overall marketing strategy very well.
Yeah. But sorry, yeah, we the inertia of the game, we could get into a little more of the minutia. Okay, so like the game is very much a like it's not on rails. What am I trying to say? Like you're the width.
It's
of
confined.
The track,
you're on a
confined.
track.
Yeah. You're confined. You're on a track. You can have some verticality to say get to a point where you can have some pickups and boost. And then you also have
like
periods
boost pads
of slowdown.
There's jump pads.
Yes.
And then there's hazards and things you have to negotiate around.
Yes, and slide. I did like that mechanic. Like it took a while to get my head around like how to get good at this game. Did you notice a big difference between the characters?
Well, they all, so there's 6 characters, and they all have, I mean, it's sort of like Mario Kart, I guess, in as much as like the the more rotund characters tend to have more inertia.
Yes.
And don't accelerate as fast, but maybe have higher top speeds versus the thinner characters, which are more nimble, but also get knocked around more and are more feathery, I guess, or less stuck to the track. But I don't know. I kept getting the sense, and I haven't really heard anybody else describe it this way, but it almost has the feeling, if you can imagine, sort of a 3D on rails, or like an endless runner. But rather than most endless runners being on a 2D, sort of perspective, this is an endless runner in a 3D perspective. It's also a racing game. It's also a kart game, sort of.
Yep.
I don't know if that makes sense, but that's kind of how I view it.
No, I agree. What were you going to say, Sean?
I didn't think I noticed a difference, but then I noticed I had best luck with the zebra, the balanced character. I didn't feel a difference at first, but I noticed I was playing better with the zebra.
Wasn't that one person like a lady, though?
There's
third one down?
Panda?
Yeah, there's a panda.
No, I know
there's like a leotard?
Yeah, it was like a leotard or a night slip.
No,
it's
weird.
weird. Yeah.
That was the bottom character, but wasn't the third character just like a lady? Or was I losing it? I thought there was one human character. Maybe it was a kangaroo that looked like a human. Okay, I might be wrong. Okay.
No, I'll have to look at it again.
Okay, yeah, because I noticed the elephant looked cool. I mean, the character models were very
funny,
cool.
yeah.
They were
well
cool.
dressed.
Yeah, and to be honest, unlike Pen Triicelon, it didn't get too cutesy because as this is like kind of a Disney Pixar-ish game, the characters were kind of gruff and rough and tumble. This was more like the DreamWorks. It's a little harder around the edges.
Oh yeah, Wynn is who you're talking about. Yeah, she is kind of a human character, I suppose.
Yeah, and it's a random.
There's Coronado, who's a bull.
Coronado, that's
I
right.
used the bull first just because he was so well dressed with his little
I think it's like a
matador
monkey
outfit.
with a mohawk or something. Or see that? No, sorry,
that's
that's
the
the zebra.
Yep.
Yeah, never mind.
Yeah.
And then there's
that tells you the polygon counts we're working with here. The zebra monkey.
Yeah, the zebra monkey, a monkey fish frog.
Yeah, and so the part that is odd to me, which like you think they could get it right, even though it's the PlayStation 1 era, something that stood out, but kind of in a funny way, was it did one of those things where it was like, a comedy show where like the person is running and it's like a Saturday Night Live skit and they're running against a background, but they're not running. And it's like these strides they're taking do not match up with the speed.
Oh no, I noticed that. It looks like somebody. It's like a bad green screen. Yeah, that's exactly what I was gonna say.
Yeah. It's a bad green screen. So like that part is
it's like when you're watching
stupid.
it's like when you're watching the old movies and they didn't have green screens. They just had like a projector playing and they're in a car.
Yeah.
But the car speed like doesn't match up with what's going on in the car or whatever.
And we forget that there was physics with like hips and stuff, and that didn't happen till like PlayStation 3 really. So like when they're turning, their body isn't really turning. I mean, you can when you do your little like down dive slide, but like it's just funny because they're standing up. Again, it's like an SNL skit. Like they're not really driving and they're moving the wheel back and forth, yet the background is like static. That part, like I guess, is not intentionally funny. It's a limitation to the thing, but I guess it ends up being kind of funny.
That's sort of that PlayStation N64 charm, I guess.
But to us, because I'm thinking. Someone listening to this podcast like goes to see video of this and says, this looks like dog shenanigans.
I thought that actually looked pretty good for a PS1 game.
Yes, but
of
you
the
just
vintage.
but again, you have to put the same thing.
Yeah, you have to put the qualifier on it.
Yeah, and the qualifier is like this big thing with PS1 that we get just as much or more than like Nintendo 64 fog, because fog is explainable because you're like it's loading, it's the background, but PS1. I don't know if anybody has. Well, you have a son old enough that could say like, have you ever just shown your son a PS1 game with no context like this? You should just have him say, "Hey, there's this new game you should play." Like, what would his reaction be?
It's odd, honestly. I was having this thought just the other day because we've been playing the Cowabunga collection.
Oh yeah,
and
great. We could talk about that.
And he I don't think he really, because we play so many old games in the house mixed with the new games, like I don't think it really occurs to him.
Yeah, of course.
The time difference and the technology differences. Like I don't know that it really registers that much.
Right? Why would it? Yeah.
Yeah, because it's just kind of presented to him like, oh well, here's just another game. It just kind of looks different. I think if it did matter to him, it probably would have more to do with sort of the analog, somewhat janky controls on the older systems versus what's available on the newer systems.
Sometimes.
And difficulty with controlling cameras and 3D perspectives and those kinds of things that are a little bit better now than they used to be. But as far as the actual overall games go, I don't think he has a strong preference for old versus new.
Interesting.
Sometimes my wife will be that way because she probably didn't play a video game until the Wii came, and she's one of those families that they got a Wii for Wii Fit and Wii Bowling and stuff. So then if I'm playing a really old game, she'll look and she'll be like, what in the heck is that? And like, so it's funny to see a person my age, but who didn't progress like we did.
Yeah.
Be lost when she sees me playing Turok on the N64.
No, and I will say, as I've gotten older, I actually think 8-bit and 16-bit and 2D 32-bit games look way better than anything that was done 3D at this time, with very few exceptions.
Oh yeah.
And it wasn't, honestly, I don't think 3D games got, just from a historical retrospective sort of view that we have now, I don't think 3D games really got good, aside from, again, a couple of examples until Dreamcast. I think that there was just a huge gap where they kind of existed, and aside from like Mario 64 and maybe like something like Metal Gear or something like that, they were good 3D games, were very few and far between. And even games that people look back with nostalgia, I don't mean to step on too many toes, but things like Tomb Raider. I've gone back and tried to play Tomb Raider somewhat recently. It's if you give that to a person now that doesn't have the context for it, they're going to think it's just a broken game.
Yeah.
Uncontrollable.
And they might
and
slap
broken.
you in the face.
Yeah.
And like they're that bad. Yeah. I completely agree. The context is difficult to describe, and I only feel like if you lived through it, you would know, because I remember at the time I soaked that stuff up. And even bad games, like I completely agree, they don't hold up. But back then, it wasn't rose-colored glasses.
We were excited about this.
We were
stuff.
excited about, like, when Mega Man went to 3D, and you look back at it, and it's just like, this doesn't work. We were playing in a different dimension, and that was the difference between, the first, hearing radio and then that first locomotive. 5-second clip that was being played, and people would run out thinking there's a real thing in real life, or the first time you see a photograph. Like, it was that new, and no matter what they did, and Mario, of course, was like a watershed moment. But even other games, when they went into like Tomb Raider, for me, it was the grittiness. It was the fact that it looks kind of like a movie. This is before Uncharted. This is before everything. It looks like a movie. This protagonist is a female, and of course, she has her history for other pointy objects. You know what I'm talking about. But it was all this like, okay, it's a lady, and she's rich, and she has a house. Wait, why does she have a house? Why am I playing in this house? All these things you've never seen before wafts over the smell of stink of like, this is hard to play, this is difficult, because you didn't care because you're in a new experience. To me, it's like
Resident Evil 1 is like what I always think of for this.
Yeah, like if you've never seen a movie before and you went through life not seeing a movie, you wouldn't care that you're seeing the worst documentary as opposed to, Top Gun, because you're seeing something. And that's the best way I can describe it. And it's true, the cream rises to the top. Yeah. But not getting too off topic, this Running Wild thing, I totally get why this was a book club pick. This is just this feels like a great.
I can see how somebody could have a very big amount of nostalgia for this, and it's a good game. I mean, I really would have enjoyed this game back at the time that it came out.
Yeah. Didn't get to do any kind of co-op. I didn't. Did
no,
you guys?
I didn't either.
We never get to play like with each other.
I guess the biggest modern knock on it is I could think of other PlayStation racing games that I would recommend before I would recommend this game.
Oh yeah. But running like an animal would. It's a short list.
Exactly, it's a very short list. But it's exactly this sort of thing. But Crash Team Racing is a better game. Things like Jet Moto, 1, 2, and 3.
Yeah.
Those were my personal experience of being like, these are really fun racing games in 3D on PlayStation that I played when I was a kid.
Yeah.
But there are other racing games I would rather play than this game.
Yeah.
But I think especially if you're playing it with kids or whatever, just for curiosity's sake.
Yeah, it's unique.
It's a game that you can pick up and have some fun with. I've got the pricing here for it too. A complete copy will run you, $10 to $15. So it's not particularly expensive, if you were to go out and see it someplace, especially if you're kind of, have a lot of nostalgia for PlayStation. Or, I mean, it's just like anything else. There's some people who are PlayStation people, and if you're a PlayStation person, you saw this, it'd be a good game to pick up.
Yeah, definitely. Worth the rental. But this was like, it reminds me of like, before WiiWare, Shovelware, this was totally marketed for kids. Mm-hmm. But before... they just made things super cutesy and over. Like, this still tried to like cut the PlayStation demographic of being a little hardcore. The roided up animals, they're not cutesy animals. So it is very much a PlayStation version of Disney. That's why I kind of think like, if you like DreamWorks animation, if you like something that's a little more edgy, this is the version of that. And if you're a kart racer fan, I'd say definitely pick this up. If you're like one of those people that really loves to play different kind of kart racers and arcade racers, definitely give this a go, because chances are you haven't played a game like this. And as far as a free running racer, I haven't played Mad Dash, even though I freaking own it. That's embarrassing. I own it based on your recommendation. It's got a good soundtrack too, I heard. But this is better than Pen Try Isolon, which is also a PlayStation game and a Dreamcast game, which is a free runner downhill. And that's actually a little different, because that one is like you're doing a to B, like you're sliding down a hill, but you happen to be running. But I think this game is more enjoyable than that. But as far as that, it's a small genre that this game is in. Mm-hmm. All right, Baby Bottles, what would you say? Not much else to say about this.
Yeah, I think I'm going to give it a 4.
Okay, all right.
I'm sitting at 3.5. I will say my favorite thing, though, was it was really bright backgrounds, bright environments. I like that.
Yeah.
It's not.
That's the kind of game that makes you feel good while you play it.
Yeah, absolutely. But just 3.5, and that it functioned better than it probably had any right to.
Yeah. I would have gone for a few more modes, a few more characters. So I'm gonna say 3.5 as well. It's not broken. It's fine. It accomplishes what it needs to. But something that nostalgia heavy. Is probably needed. But hey, it's cheap, it's great, it's random. I am so glad we played it. I never would have played this in my life.
It's honestly worth it just to say that you have played this game and then to try to explain it to somebody.
Yeah. Yeah, exactamundo. All right, well that's that. Let's move on to the dad pick.
Yeah, so the dad pick, I think this was your pick.
It was,
right?
yeah.
So this was Captain America
Super Soldier
for the, I guess, what was it, 360 and PS3?
Yeah, it's a PS3, but it also came out for the 360 and the Wii. I don't know if there's any differences with the Wii, but...
So basically, and I didn't even realize this, but it's one of the 3D compatible PS3 games.
Oh, no kidding.
I did realize this, and I played it in 3D.
Oh,
I'm
kind of jelly now.
My PS 3D TV, that PlayStation branded television that's out there. And I noticed that too, and it even says that logo. Right
I have a 3D LG TV that's of this vintage, and I totally should have hooked it up. And played it in 3D.
Same.
If you've never played PS3 games that are 3D compatible in 3D,
they're better than movies.
Have you ever done it, Sean?
Yeah, I've held on to my LG TV. Was like our wedding gift to ourselves.
Yeah, it's
just
awesome.
because it was from 2012, so a little in there, but. Just for these types of games, I had no idea this was one.
Yeah, God of War Collection is the one I played all the way through pretty much in 3D.
Yeah.
And when a side tangent, sorry, I shouldn't have gone on that so quickly.
So anyway, year it came out, sorry.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, so here's the stats. It came out in 2011 in North America and the EU. So again, this is one
technically a vintage game.
Yeah, technically this is a classic, yeah. Runs on the Unreal Engine 3 and was developed by Next Level Games and High Voltage Games. Next Level for the PS3 was Next Level Games. High Voltage was the Wii version.
Yeah, I'm assuming there's a big difference there. Again, we're not talking about the Wii version. We're just talking about the PS3 360 one.
Yeah, so essentially this
Sega game.
Yeah, it's a Sega game, Sega published game. It's got the little Sega logo on it. And so this is like an action beat 'em up sort of.
Yeah, it's a third-person action
game. Yeah, it's like
game.
a third-person action game. Think Batman.
Like hack and slash with your fists.
Kind of, yeah. I mean, you could think of it as being akin to sort of the Batman Arkham Asylum sort of genre of games.
Yeah.
Maybe a little bit less stealth involved in that particular game, but similar play mechanics, similar visual style,
And let's be honest here, it's a movie tie-in game.
It is a movie tie-in game.
Back when there was a lot of these, and back when most weren't good, and the reason I picked this is I heard through the grapevine of all the movie tie-in games from this era, this was one of the best from what I heard. And again, I didn't play it before doing this. And as far as the Marvel games, which now, of course, there's a whole lot less, this is one of the best Marvel games, of all the dozens that came out.
Sega did a lot of these Marvel games in these MCU days, and a lot of them were bad, frankly.
Yep. Yeah, but I mean, we're alluding to it, but I will, unless you have any more stats, I will be the first to say I was a little worried after I picked it. I remember I drove home and was like, I could have picked so many other games, and I'm the PS3 guy, and I picked this one. What if I'm pleased to say I had a ton of fun with this game. I really, really liked it. What are your guys' kind of like satellite view thoughts of this?
No, I like it, but I'm also very prone to liking this style of game, if that makes sense.
Sure.
I love beat 'em ups and brawlers and quick action, kind of get in, punch around, do stuff sort of games. And again, going back to kind of the Batman analogy, it has, there's some exploration in it. Obviously, it's sort of a point A to point B kind of game, too. And there's a little bit of puzzle solving and that kind of thing. But a lot of it's beat 'em up. And
starts out super linear, but luckily breaks a little away, but maintains the linear ship, if that makes sense.
And
Arkham Asylum is a good...
I actually personally like linear games. I know that's in the modern world, that's kind of a knock. But I'm less of an open world game guy. I like point A, point B. There's my goal. Let's go accomplish it kind of games. But it's heavy action based, and there's sort of a battle system in it where you're fighting multiple enemies at once. And like the Batman games, it's part of it is based on pulling off moves and sort of strategically moving, but a lot of it is based almost like a rhythm game on timing of when a punch is coming and when you're going to punch and how you're going to avoid this enemy over here and reaction times and these kinds of things. or think Batman, think the new Spider-Man game, that sort of thing.
Yeah.
It's sort of in that vein of things, and I really gel well with that type of sort of action profile, in a game. So I appreciated that part of it a lot. Being that it's Captain America, there's lots of like Nazis and stuff roaming around that you get to beat on.
Yeah, it really pulls from the movie. If you've seen the movie, the first one back in the early Marvel days, I think it's a great Marvel flick. Yeah, it's a great superhero.
It's actually
flick.
Probably my favorite, or one of my favorite Marvel movies.
Yeah, it's great. And again, we're getting a whole tangent about all the Marvel movies, but basically, there's a ton of them now. There's She-Hulk and all this other stuff out now, and it's hard to keep up. And I'm considered a fan of this stuff. This takes the parts from the movie when he starts to turn into the actual Captain America and not the joke. In 1940 when he breaks into the base. That's the whole game, and that's one thing I noticed as I was playing through the game and I got through the whole thing. This really does take the part where Captain Steve Rogers, is going in, and he's not going to be the poster boy anymore. He's actually going to be the bad astronaut. And go in and kick some astronauts and take some names. And he does that. And then the knock is, he's not traveling the world. This isn't following every blip of the movie and he's running down the street.
This is one location.
This is just when he goes in and does this. In the movie, it's a few slow motion action movies, and it's the first time you see him like doing his moves and what the moves of Captain America are off of the comic book. And what I love about this is this game does it really correctly, and it's because the movie did it correctly, because back then they cared a lot. Now there's so many liberties taken with Marvel, they have to jump out of the comics a little bit and be silly and kooky, like the new Thor movie, which I was fine with, but it's like, hey, we're gonna tell a joke now. This is back when like they spent a lot of time like, okay, what's his suit made out of that makes sense? What are his moves going to feel like, and how does he throw the shield? And like, the actor just went so into this that this game was good because the movie cared so much. It felt like they wanted to make sure they got this game right as well, which was really kind of awesome to see. It doesn't break new ground. Back then, this is 7 out of 10 game, but as I found, like, the music is wonderful. It does full orchestration. I'll just talk about a bunch of the other good things outside it. Like we talked combat, action. I thought the movie was great. You guys both kind of our music was great. You both nodded your heads. You agree to that. I was really surprised that I was playing and I was like, cutscenes and voice acting.
Yeah.
How many times in a game like this is the voice acting?
I think it's actually
terrible?
Chris Evans' voice too.
Yes.
Yeah.
So the first few levels, I was like, it is rare voice actor. I can't tell the difference. Every once in a while, they get someone close, and then I come to find out
this was back before Chris Evans was a big deal.
Yes, yeah. And on top of that, all the voice actors. So I thought Peggy, and I was thinking like, oh yeah, they can get a British lady to sound like Peggy because she's like, hello, I'm British. No, that was the actual Peggy, and then Bucky was Sebastian Stan or whatever his name is. Sebastian, isn't that his name? I think.
Yeah, something like that.
Winter Soldier is the Winter Soldier. So everybody except Hugo Weaving, which then of course sticks out. Red Skull, which comes in about 3 hours in the game, 4 hours in the game, is not Hugo Weaving. And to the credit of the voice actor, Hugo Weaving's really unique voice. He's the V for Vendetta guy.
Yeah.
He's the Matrix guy.
Yeah, it's really hard to
Agent
find somebody
Smith.
that wouldn't sound weird
Mr.
trying to do
Anderson.
that.
Yeah, that dude, if you know who that dude is. You can't really find that guy off the street. But also Steve Evans didn't dial it in. Like, he is, like, and that I think it's kind of like he seems like a really nice, genuine guy in person. Like, he probably really wanted to do a good job, and you could tell. Like, that's great. Like, that made me enjoy this game even more. So, point A to point B, you beat up a bunch of baddies, you kind of move on. You're kind of in this facility, you're outside for a little bit, you're in the dungeons, you're picking up collectibles. I did like the Prince of Persia parts. Do you know where I'm getting at here? Mm-hmm. So the part where they jump around and leap around, they made a choice to make it a kind of what you said, a rhythm game when you're jumping, instead of actually like holding the thing and jumping in that direction and being automatic. There's 3 ways to do jumping and climbing. You can either be really precise and frustrating, where you have to like hit a bunch of things at once. You could do the Assassin's Creed thing where it looks amazing and you're basically holding a button in a direction. Or in this case, it's rhythm. And I'm like, okay, I like that. Not a lot of games do that. It's a rhythm-based jumping system. And you get points, you level up, you find collectibles, like random stuff like eggs and urns and like random things. But like I really enjoyed it, and I like there's a map that you can find with certain power-ups and collectibles. There's the moves of if there's a rocket coming at you, you can hit it back with your shield if you time it right. It's not difficult. Do you know what this kind of also reminded me of? I was thinking when I was playing this. This is the equivalent of. It reminded me so much of Wolfenstein, but let's say
it has the aesthetic.
Let's say your kids are not old enough for Wolfenstein. This is the video game dad's version of Wolfenstein. And I thought that when I was doing it. I was like, that's the perfect analogy of this. This is like not going to offend you. You're going to be kind of surprised that, hey, it's better than I thought it was going to be.
I honestly, what I was going to say too is I think this is a product of, growing up in the 80s and watching a lot of Steven Spielberg movies. Like, there's no better enemies than Nazis.
Yeah.
Like, just from, because growing up on things like Indiana Jones or, Wolfenstein, another example. But yeah, it's just like it has the enemies that are supposed to be the enemies, right?
Yeah.
And it kind of plays off all that.
And it's a lot of Nazis. And yes, they don't change much. There's like 5, 6, 7 different enemies. You'll repeat them again, but luckily the combat is enough. If this was this would be really repetitive if the combat system was not good.
No, the combat system's good. You can tell that they spent some effort on that. I mean, there are things that they could have done, maybe as far as more variety and that kinds of things. But it also, whenever you add more variety, you also put in a lot more variables. And then maybe things aren't going to execute quite as well, and so on.
You do too much.
And I actually, a lot of people probably would look at this as a knock on the game. But it's relatively short. You can beat it in like 5 to 7 hours, somewhere in that time frame,
or even less.
But at the same time, like, this movie doesn't. Or this game doesn't really feel like it needs to be any longer than that. And if it was longer than that, you'd just be complaining that it was too long and it gets too repetitive because it's so long. So it's
a good length for what it is.
It's about the right length for what it is. Now, if it was a $60 game back in the day and you wanted something that you were just going to play over and over and over and over again, then that might be a very valid gripe. But I think in the modern day, when you can just get it and play through it once or whatever, it doesn't overstay its welcome. It's something you can pick up, have it definable. I'm starting it and I'm going to end it, kind of thing. And for that reason, I think this is a good game to go back and play retrospectively.
Yeah. And I think, unfortunately, more people played Iron Man. Because let's be honest, Iron Man as a concept sounds better than Captain America. I used to play some of those old Iron Man games, or I tried to, and that's what kept me away from this one. Because those old Iron Man games, the set pieces would feel like you're watching a middle school play compared to you're like watching a good piece of theater or something. That's kind of the difference. Again, I'm giving weird analogies tonight. I'm sorry. This is just where my brain's going. Hopefully you understand. But like, this is on a totally different level than the first The second Iron Man game isn't bad, but that first Iron Man game by Sega is...
I can't say that I've played all the Iron Man games.
It's not good.
I've never played
not good.
I've never played an Iron Man game I thought was any good.
That one I played on the Wii, and I always remember thinking, is it just because I'm playing the Wii version, or is it actually bad? And I think it's probably just bad.
It's not. I will say a good Iron Man game that no one talks about is Iron Man VR. That's for the PS4.
Yeah.
That seems well suited for VR, right?
That's actually supposed to be good, but I've not played it.
So some of my top Marvel games, I'll just throw this out real quick. Just if you're a Marvel fan, you're listening to this, here I go real quick. Okay, the original Thor for the handheld is great. It's made by Way Forward. Not Thor for the PS3, but there's a Thor handheld game tie into the movie, and it's a 2D side-scrolling action game. This game, and then Iron Man VR, and then my fourth one, even though I haven't played it, I just heard amazing things. I can't wait to play. Is the new Guardians of the Galaxy game? I've heard is wonderful.
Yeah, I've heard that too. I want to play it. Mine are the Marvel Ultimate Alliance.
Oh yeah, you do like
and X-Men Legends.
I prefer Legends over Alliance, but that's my favorite genre.
But that kind of the 4-player sort of hack and slash kind of
any Diablo
dungeon crawler ones,
usually
ones
gets
that
me.
I like.
Yeah, those are good. But Anyway, so the difficulty again, it's not super difficult. They've got 3 different like difficulty settings, pretty standard stuff. Easy, you can cakewalk through it, and then your health regenerates, more pickups, enemies are stronger. I feel like I'm gonna try to platinum this game. I liked it so much. It's not a very hard one to get, but like I just really enjoyed it. I liked it that you could the world kind of opens up. You can backtrack. The tutorial level is fine. It's fair. You know what's going to come. Nothing's going to surprise you. The color palette is very 2010. It's very gray. It's
kind of appropriate to the theme, at least, though.
Yeah, it is, and it feels fun. At the end is really corny. Like no spoiler because we're doing a book club, but like I do the final boss. Did you guys make it to the final boss?
No, I
did not.
Didn't play the final boss.
So, do you mind if I spoil?
No, go ahead.
Okay,
please.
so like the final boss is very good, and it wasn't what I was expecting. So here's the thing: I would normally be disappointed if you don't fight like Red Skull, but like you don't fight Red Skull. And I will say one of the weaker parts of the movie is that kind of like a little fight with Red Skull I thought was coming the finality. But you fight the guy that puts his body in the robots. You know how he puts his mind in the robots. But you fight a lot of them. After I fought the first one, I was like, okay. But you fight like 10 or 12 of those in different aspects as you're getting towards the end. And then you fight a big mecha... a mecha Nazi at the end, and it's huge. It's like the equivalent of one of those Mario bosses where you only see the upper half because he's so far away. I wasn't expecting that, and I was pretty happy with that. Ending of Sonic 2. Anybody see Sonic 2?
Yeah.
So imagine that size boss at the end, where all the other bosses are your size, and it's like Resident Evil, where you just have a multi-level kind of boss. But yeah, there's this big mecha thing, and you do get to call in airstrikes. I will say you get to level up your shield. At one point in the game, you lose your shield. Luckily, it's not very long, because that would be kind of annoying. You can in the settings make it so your shield automatically hones versus aiming it. You can do slow down hits. It's not a one-trick pony, which I really appreciate. I won't talk too long on it since we don't want to get too long, but I breathed a sigh of relief as I was playing it, and I was like really enjoying my way through it. And I'm happy to play it. I agree with what other people said. This is one of those like the 6s and 7s back in the day when you kind of didn't know what you had. And nowadays, this game would never be made because they make them mobile. They would turn it into something else, or Telltale. You just don't have the budget.
Pay another 99 cents and you can throw your shield 5 more times.
Yeah. What a great game. If you're a Captain America fan, boy, play this. If you're just moderately, or you like the movie, give it a try. It is one player, similar to the Arkham Asylum games. I don't know what we could say about it, but high production values. And freaking the voice acting was good. I was so happy. It's normally the big thing. But anyway, okay. Baby bottles. Let's go, Sean. What do you think?
I think I'm going to give 4 out of 5 baby bottles, and right. I would say it didn't like really pop or blow me away, but it was just really good pretty much the whole way through.
Yeah.
And people's complaints in reviews don't really apply to me. Short game repetition, like those are things that don't bother me a lot in hindsight. So
yeah,
4 out of 5.
All right.
I'm also going to go 4 out of 5 for similar reasons. I mean, it is what it is.
Right.
It's not going to knock your socks off, but it's fun to play, succinct.
Yep.
And like I said, for the style of gaming that I like to do, this fits.
Yeah. Yeah. I give it a little bit of an edge, a little higher, just because all the caveats of it shouldn't be as good as it is. I think that gives me a little edge to go to 4.5. I'm not going to go 5. Obviously, it's not perfect. When you get to other genres like those Batman Arkham games, and you get to Uncharted and all these other, especially Batman Arkham. I mean, talk about. If anybody gives that not a 5 out of 5, I mean, just don't shut off my podcast. Just kidding, but not. From the voice acting, production quality, you're just never going to get anything like this again. And it plays great, man. Perfect length to me. So I'm going to give 4.5 with an aggregate score of 4.2, 5.6, something like that. I don't know. We'll check the records.
Makes it a great book club pick, though, right? Like nothing we'd see Sega and Marvel on the side, and I would have never picked it up otherwise. So.
Yeah. So real quick, do you want to do the back of the box? All right, the back of the box. We like to pretend back in the day when we're pulling this off our Blockbuster Hollywood video shelves, we need to be swayed to rent this game. Let's see what the back of the box says. This is PS3 era. Let's go with Sean. You got the Captain America Super Soldier.
Wield the shield, become the ultimate super soldier, and battle the Red Skull's army in World War II. Leap into acrobatic combat. Attack with Cap's legendary shield, starring Chris Evans as Captain America.
Wow. It says it right on the back.
I know, great selling point.
I know. They put that on the very bottom, but I love the top of it. Wield the shield. I love it. It's simple. It's right. He does do a lot of acrobatic moves. That's a good back of the box. It sells it. Doesn't overstay its welcome. What about Running Wild?
All right, Running Wild. I have the PAL back of the box. Maybe I should find the... we're going to stick with PAL.
No, go with PAL.
So, Running Wild. It's a jungle out there. 2 exclamation points.
Yes.
Kick up the dust with the fastest pads, paws, and claws the world has ever seen. 6 animal athletes battle it out on racetracks across the globe packed full with shortcuts, hidden paths, and tons of power-ups. This is one mad dash to the finish line you can really sink your teeth into.
Wow.
Supports DualShock.
And they use the enemies. It's Mad Dash. What do you think the Mad Dash people just... Oh, shoot. I know. No, sorry. Mad Dash came out later, but that's where they got their idea.
Was it the same studio, or did you say that earlier and I wasn't listening?
I think it's a different studio.
I think it is a different studio, but so one of the things I was going to mention too when we were talking about the game, they talk about all the different locations whenever you're on the map screen in the game.
Yeah.
In Running Wild, it's just like desert.
Yeah.
Mountain.
Oh yeah. The globe. The globe. Yeah.
Yeah, I just thought it was funny that was one of the things that I thought, well, that's kind of generic because normally in your kart racers, it's like, especially like in Mario Kart or Diddy Kong Racing or Sonic or something like that, they have like these themed levels and they have like these funny names or kind of these, alliterative titles, this kind of thing. And here it's just like desert.
Yeah.
Like that's the name of the level. Anyways.
Yeah, no, you're right. It's like you can tell when a team is really small and they made their game in 5 months.
Well, you could just and sort of it, but you just think that maybe their creative director was just a really concrete kind of guy.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. It's like we're gonna make a level in the desert, and it's like, what do you want to call it? Desert.
Yeah. Does it need a name?
Does it need a name? I just told you what it was.
Do we have to pay somebody if we say Sahara?
Yeah, we're not hiring a names guy.
Yeah. Yeah. Right. Like when sometimes they don't use voice actors and they just do like sound effects and like, somebody's mom does it or something like that. You see
side tangent as far as voice acting goes. I think the best game that of voice acting or the best voice acting in a game of any game I probably have ever played is Hades.
Oh, yeah.
It's super good. And there's just tons of dialogue in that game. Did you know that most of the voices in that game are actually the programmers and developers of the game?
I think I remember hearing that. Yeah.
That's the coolest thing.
I feel like what I think stands out about it is they read their lines with like direction. Like without knowing it, I know that they did that, but I feel like some of them had to have had background in. Oh no, they're
artsy people. I mean, they knew what they were doing.
I bet you they were like, okay, if we're gonna do this, we're gonna bring someone in that's a diction coach to teach us all. And they had someone who was like, it felt like somebody who was like, they went to college for the scholarship, but they weren't the pros, which you never see. So I hear what you're saying. It's done really, really well, but part of it seems like they were coached well, not like had a lot of talent. Yeah.
And the way it's so coherent, then you know that between all those lines of dialogue, they had to have recorded that stuff over like, a gazillion different settings, and it's all these short little quips of dialogue, but they all flow together so well. But like I said, when I found out that it was like just basically the folks working on the game were also doing the dialogue, I just think that's super cool.
Yeah.
But side tangent over.
Agree. But anyway, love all that stuff. Back of the box, everything else. We should move on. Let's move on real quick. I wanted to get a couple things out of the way. Something I've noticed. I bought something online for my wife. I'm turning kind of like the dining room into her office, so this is a guy project, but I'm liking it. moved like our dining room. We finally have given up the whole point. Who uses a dining room unless you're having the queen over? It looks great, but like anyway, we finally bit the bullet. I took the dining bay apart, turned that into our office, and we're gonna have that be the kid room instead of the front room. So it'll be like, better utilized space. I went to go pick up something from Craigslist. Saw this guy. Just random guy about my age, and we were talking about podcasts because I was playing one in the car while we were loading up my table in the back, and he was like, "Oh, you're listening to the Conan?" I was like, "Oh yeah." Somehow, talked about video games, and he was like, "Oh yeah, I finally picked up a PS5," and I was like, "Oh yeah, I'm waiting until they're in the store," and my same thing I've said for years, not knowing that now we're 2 years on, they're still low stock. And he's like, "Yeah, no, I walked in a store and randomly just asked a GameStop, and he had it." He said, "Yeah, and that was awesome, and I love it. The problem was, I had to buy a bundle with it." And I just was like, "Oh my, okay, I'm still not buying until I find it. I am not going to." So even still now, you're going 2 years on, people are lucky to find it, and they have to buy it with a bundle with like controllers and games.
Just to clarify, it's not a good bundle. It's a GameStop.
GameStop makes you buy
junk bundle.
Yeah, they're like, hey, you've got to buy this piece of plastic, that snaps onto the side of the controller that holds your Cheetos.
Yeah.
For $30,
Yeah, and I mean, of course I expect that, but like, and I know it has to do with the pandemic and everything, but the fact that we're going 2 years on and still online, and every time I see it, it makes me not want a PS3 even more about the hurry quick, it might be in stock, oh, it's sold out. And I'm just like, no, I'm not drinking the Kool-Aid. I'm waiting. I'm going to wait till the dang thing comes out, and at this point, it's going to be a PS5 Pro. I do want to get one eventually. We talked about this right before recording, so I won't go on. But just wanted to kind of say, like, people, it does seem like finally PS5s are going to be more available, and scalpers aren't getting a ton of money. So when they said, like, 2023 is going to be the year they're in stock, and you're going to see them.
I'm not going to buy one until there's some, like, super whiz-bang special edition, anniversary edition, something like
cool.
that.
Yeah.
Did I ever tell you I actually got a Millennium... PS4 Pro, whatever they're called, the blue translucent one.
Oh, you finally got one?
Yeah, I finally got one.
How'd you get? Where'd you get it?
I got it on like a Facebook group.
Cool.
From a guy I know. But
I that's my daily driver.
Yeah, and I actually got it for not terrible. Expensive either. But man, it is such a good looking system.
And the way
it's the best looking console that's ever been made.
What
is it? It's the 500 million edition.
Yeah.
I'm blanking on the actual name of it. But yeah, it's such a good looking system.
Yeah, and it had I don't know if yours came. Mine had a controller with it. You had to buy the controller separate.
Yeah.
And I got that, and I also got the pack where I got real lucky, and I got it in 30 seconds. So I got the headset. What am I trying to say?
Headphones. I tried to order a day of release and couldn't get one.
Yeah, I got lucky. It was random, but anyway, no, that's my daily driver.
But I'm waiting on the PS5 equivalent to something like that, or until they drop the price on it.
Same here,
fairly dramatically before I jump in.
I've got impulsive older brothers. I'll just wait till one of those guys buys it and gets tired of it in a few months. Yeah, they need money worse than they need a PS5.
Well, my big thing was the big thing that I had took me so long to buy a Vita, and I'll be honest, and I know people love it. And they make do and they get over it. But every time I hear people talking about hard drive space in that thing. And I know it's got an SSD. I know it loads fast. But we were saying earlier, my PS4 has like 4 gigs in it, and I have another 8 gigs in an SSD.
Terabytes, you mean?
Terabytes, thank you. Sorry. That would be, I'm going back a couple generations with the gig thing.
Is that the first Xbox 360, right? With 4 gigs?
I think so, yeah. Even they made a PS3 at one point that only had 8, late in the life, which was really weird.
The mini one or whatever.
Yeah. One of them did. It was just random, but then you couldn't put anything on it. It's hard to load a game. But anyway, the storage thing is quite an issue. I feel like why you're going to have to constantly swap out games. I don't know if the disc helps a lot, but the storage thing is another reason why I don't really want to dive in. Like, it feels every generation, and this generation's just as bad or worse, having to play the storage management game. Like, that to me is not fun. I mean, these things are supposed to be fun. I don't know. That, again, I'm going to be happy to buy one when we get it. It's getting them close to the point of doing it. I thought it was newsworthy because for since the dang thing released, you can't find it in stock, and now finally, if you are on the fence, you should be able to buy it here soon.
Yeah, I don't know. I've been doing Switch, Steam Deck, and Series X, and I'm pretty happy with
Yeah.
all three of those. I don't feel any need to upgrade or do anything different.
Just on
you
a
know.
huge Switch kick in my house. A 4-year-long Switch kick.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm still playing PS4 and Switch as well. Some other random news that came out worth mentioning. Cuphead is getting a physical release.
Yay!
Yeah.
Finally.
It's about time.
Yeah, for those that are living under a rock, 4 or 5 years ago, this amazing Xbox exclusive named Cuphead came out. I'm not going to describe the game outside of you need to play it. It's a run and gun game. That's all I'll say. It's got an amazing art style. There's nothing like it. Nothing will ever be like it either. And they released the final DLC for it.
The Delicious Last Course.
Yes, the Delicious Last Course. And the physical edition will have that. So anyway, the physical edition's a big deal. It's going to be a wide retail release.
It's on Amazon for $40 right now for pre-order.
Yes, so you don't have to feel like you have to set clocks or anything.
IM8-bit has the collector's edition. It's $200.
That is true. So if you want to buy a $200 version with a marionette doll, you can do that.
You can.
I'm not, but if it's your favorite game, I know people who have tattooed Cuphead on their bodies and stuff.
I actually had the soundtrack on vinyl up until a couple months ago. I traded it for an album I had been looking for a really long time to.
Well, you might feel better about this. They're re-releasing the album finally.
Yeah.
So
and the DLC is coming out on vinyl.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I saw that too, and I was like, okay, there's people who want that. That's fine. But anyway, so what again is that's pretty cool. It's coming out for everything. Switch, PS4. I would probably just get it for PS4 because like I like trophies, and but the Switch version looks great too. I also actually, if you're talking a real precise game, I like to use the Joy-Cons, and I have a lot of trouble. Like you got to use the Pro Controller on a game like this. If you play Cuphead with the Joy-Cons, email me because I don't believe you. No, I'm sorry. It's just the Joy-Cons are.
I'm actually pretty good with the Joy-Cons.
Really?
On Cuphead?
Ugh.
I'm not good with those Joy-Cons on most things.
I'm talking about using the 4 buttons like as a D-pad. I'm actually pretty good at it.
Really?
Yeah, it's taken a little bit, but I play
longer though, right?
I play Shovel Knight with those little buttons, and I play Cuphead with those little buttons. Yeah.
I mean, I appreciate that and I admire that, but it still makes me angry.
It does. I just wish they'd pull like the NES D-pad off and just stick it on the Switch.
To me, it's like I don't want to be frustrated playing it. People have controller, whatever, but you got to go with the Pro Controller to play it. So anyway, that is why I'm going to pick the PS4 version. But how awesome is that? It's going to wide release coming out really, really soon. You already said the Cowabunga edition came out recently. We talked about that before it came out, how we were excited to play it. I will say I was pleasantly surprised. The Ninja Turtles Cowabunga edition plays all the game. We've talked about this previously. It plays all the old nostalgic Turtle games. Mm-hmm. You all own it? You own it too? Mm-hmm. Yep. I have it for Switch. I bought it for Switch. I forgot I did. I think I texted you. It was one of those times where I was like, I bought it and I forgot I did, and it showed up, and I was so pleasantly surprised. I played through the old Game Boy games. Oh, it's so much fun.
Those surprised me. I'd never touched any of those Game Boy games before, and one of them wasn't good at all, I didn't think, but the other ones were pretty solid. I want to say Fall of the Foot Clan wasn't my favorite.
Okay.
Does that line up with your feelings whatsoever?
It makes me sad and I'm crying.
Sorry.
It's okay.
But the other ones were surprisingly...
The first Game Boy game I ever owned, I remember leaving Ward Parkway Mall with that.
Adam, quick delete that segment. I didn't say anything.
No. I totally agree. Like, out of all of its most stiff, it's so nostalgic and I love it. But Turtles 2 is great. Turtles 3 is great. And what I love is they have this replay or one of those features that some games have where you can choose to watch it. Mm-hmm. And in the reviews, I don't know if they did a update or something and updated this, but in the reviews, it's worth noting that let's say for some reason, if you're like me and if you don't want to play the game, you want to watch it a little while, you can jump in the middle of the watch. And when I watched reviews, they said, oh, it's just like playing a video. You can't jump in. Well, you can jump in. Mm-hmm. And I did that with Turtles 3, and I realized a few things. Turtles 3 is hard. Really hard for Game Boy.
I loved that game back in the day, though. That's the one I've been playing with Grayson.
I didn't make it very far in it, but I enjoyed it. It was my first try at it.
I've loved watching it and jumping in and playing the bosses, but I actually kept
The
dying
enemies,
on
the
the
enemies
bosses.
hit a lot more frequently
Yes.
than in 3 and than the other games.
And the bosses in 3
they're hard.
are tricky. And even 2, to be honest with you. So 2 was great because 2, I never realized this. I never beat 2 as a kid. I got all the way to the last level where you're in the air. If you've played 2, sorry if you haven't, because you don't know what I'm talking about. But in 2, there's a level where you're outside, and it's kind of like a crap level. That's the best way of saying it. It's like you have to go up, you have to go down. You can get hit by things when you're starting to leave the screen. It's a real cheap, and I always died. And then I entered the Infinite Life or the Infinite Continue, which they also give you cheats or enhancements, they call it. They don't call them cheats.
Yeah, enhancements.
I love it. They call it enhancements. They know their audience,
Can't
right?
hurt anybody's feelings.
It's the Game Genie video game enhancer.
Right. Are you going to buy a pill that says cheat? No, I wouldn't cheat on my wife, but I would get something to enhance myself for my wife. Am I right? This is what I'm talking about, folks, when I'm talking about you don't have to earmuffs that. And that's just a joke. 100% just a joke. Sorry about that.
Right, you don't stay up late watching cheat pills or cheat supplements.
This is an enhancement. I love that. I love that word now so much. I love how they did that.
Yeah.
And also, they have such a library of art and production paperwork and concept art. And again, for me being so in love with those original Game Boy games, I look through everything. They've got probably 1,000 sheets of just like, this is what we're... the concept of how the first level is going to go and what this means, and it's written in the there's translation of everything is translated. It feels like you've got this awesome like library on top of this is as much a game to me as it is like a little history lesson, and that's why I can't recommend this game enough. If I was able to put this in my top 100 I would, but I feel like it's, to me,
no,
you could
cheating.
do it. It feels so cheating.
Yeah.
But it would take care of like 3 of my games for me all at once. But this Turtles collection, Cowabunga collection, is great. It's also what, $39.99.
$39.99.
It'll probably
I'm sure it'll be half that in a year.
Black Friday, watch this to be 25 or 30.
Most of these collections tend to do that too,
Yes,
right? They tend to cut
do.
in half relatively quickly.
Yeah, they do. And I played it on the Switch and absolutely love it. That, and of course the I feel like they're going to release the new game and this game like together in some super bundle or something. The what is it called? Shredder's Revenge.
Shredder's Revenge, yeah.
Shredder's Revenge is great.
Mine
Platinum
just showed
that.
up yesterday, Shredder's Revenge for the Switch.
Oh,
Yeah,
wonderful.
It was
to
a little
hear.
delayed, yeah. So
I still haven't gotten my Shredder's Revenge, but I do have the Cowabunga collection right over there on the shelf.
Oh, the big one.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, the big one.
Oh, you're not going to... Gosh, I just want you to open it. I want to look at it. But
I'm scared to open it.
I know, yeah. So that's, the big special edition. But anyway, the Cowabunga collection is amazing. Great. That was the main things I kind of wanted to talk about, the Cuphead physical or the other thing. Oh, real quick, NFL Blitz, we talked about it before. It was the book club pick of Michael. NFL Blitz is going to be released as an arcade cabinet through Arcade 1-Up. They released that news. It's been speculated, but they released that like 2-3 weeks ago. How's your excitement level?
I'd like to get it, but I probably need to get rid of one if I'm going to get that one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Give and take. Your thought? Well, you don't really have.
I don't
any
really
of
do the
those.
arcade one-ups.
Yeah.
Not my thing. But it's exciting. I mean, it's Blitz.
Yeah, I'm super excited. It has my favorite quarterback, Dan Marino, is on one side
Race
of it.
is out, Dan.
Oh, but you know who else is on there? I just realized.
God, I'm trying to
He has some controversy going on right now about stealing one.
Troy Aikman.
Brett Favre.
Brett Favre.
Oh, Brett
But he
Favre,
didn't do anything wrong, he says.
Oh, I forgot
He
about that.
says.
He's on the side of that, but I forgot. Yeah, Brett Favre is on that. He's in trouble for stuff.
Was it Roy Finkel?
You can look
Ray
it up.
Finkel.
Ray Finkel?
Yeah. But anyway,
Ray Finkel.
you could put that side on against the wall if you want. But worth mentioning, if you're just hearing this news from me, you should research a little bit. Some people, number one, they've got 80-90% of the names of all the players on there, which they did for NBA Jam, so same kind of thing. But they got rid of the late hits because, the NFL hates concussions, evidently.
Oh, really? That was one of the best. That was one of the best parts where you could keep pile driving people after you'd already tackled them.
Yeah. So
these quarterback hits, especially this week as we're recording this, is a pretty hot topic. Go look it up. Go look that up as well.
Yeah, you can look all that up. To some people, that is a deal breaker. I completely understand.
It's not a deal breaker, but it's just that's like. I mean, not to sound like the old man, but that's what's wrong with the world is the fact that we can't pile drive people in a video game after having already tackled them.
Next thing you know, they'll be taking the drugs out of NFL Street.
I mean, it's so dumb.
Wait, NFL
Blitz the league.
Blitz the league, pardon me.
Yeah.
So
but that's not licensed, so they'll keep those going. So it has 3 games.
Next thing you know, Mario's not going to be able to eat mushrooms.
I know. It has Blitz 99, Blitz 2000.
So stupid.
I know. There's 3 Blitz games on there, and they're the best ones. Like I said, the big thing is the cabinet looks amazing. It's like, unfortunately now the arcade 1-ups that used to be $300, it's like $600. So I'm gonna have to wait for a price drop, just like X-Men. I'm still waiting for that. But those are the 2 that I'm still wanting. I really want X-Men because longtime listeners know I had that arcade. I sold it, but I can't. I can't lift those things anymore. I drink the Kool-Aid of the arcade 1-ups. I get them. I like them. I like the fact that if I have to move them, I can move them by myself. And they don't take up much space.
They
comes with a riser
too. I've always liked
I will
the
say if you're going to
look.
get if you're only going to get one mini arcade system, get the Neo Geo MVSX. That's my 2 cents. If you're only going to get one system,
yes. How easy is that to find though?
You can order it online.
I know, but is it on sale?
Yeah, it does go on sale around Christmas time, or they have at least in the past.
All right.
But it's really easy to modify it and add a bunch of stuff too if you really want to.
Okay.
That plays pretty well.
It comes with 55 Neo Geo games on it. I think it's 55 factory.
That's great.
But there's packs you can download. You can modify it. You can do all kinds of stuff. It's really easy to throw a ton of games on it. But if you're only going to buy one system, it's got a better screen and it has better sound than the arcade 1-ups.
Okay.
But and I like its form factor a little bit better. So tangent over. That's my 2 cents. But if you're only going to get one machine, I'd get that one.
Yeah, and since you're mentioning that, arcade 1-ups, you can modify those easily if you want to do that too. Of course.
Yeah, but those ones you have to change out hardware. This one, all you need is a thumb drive.
Oh yeah, that is a huge plus. But possibilities are there if you want to nerd it up. Is all I'm saying. The late hits, I agree. I wish they were there. I understand why they're not because that's the era we're in. But I will mention, after watching gameplay, the late hits in the arcade compared to the home console are different, and I forgot that. So in the arcade, the late hits, you don't get very long, and they zoom out, and it's pretty quick. In the home console, you got to hit for longer, so I do feel that some...
Oh, yeah, it seemed like I could drop 4 or 5 elbows sometimes before the next play.
But in the arcade, you really didn't have that much time anyway, so to me, I'm not missing that much. It's still big hits. And then when it comes down to the quick play, I just feel like, the hits are kind of funny, but after you do it once or twice, that's all you're missing. So for me, not at all the deal breaker. I get why people, and you can modify in a different arcade 1-up and put the original ROMs on there and do what you want. I'm just happy it exists. There's other arcade 1-ups that have come out, but that was the only one of note that I thought worth mentioning. But we have this segment that we've been doing recently called the Pop 100, right? Huh, Sean?
Yeah, Pop Hundo, I believe.
Pop Hundo.
Pop Hundo.
Because we're trying to be hip.
Yeah,
we're cool.
So this is a personal top 100 list we have been doing, and we also have an email I will get to really quick that talks about the Pop 100. I might just save for a couple emails here just to save for time before we get started. But basically, we're going down our personal list. This is just our nostalgic driven. We're going 10 at a time from 100 to 1. And Michael's not here this time, and if we have to miss a time, we'll do more. But we are down to what, 70 to 61 is where we're at, right?
I've got 80 to 71.
Oh, is that where
Correct,
we're at?
yeah.
Oh, sorry. 80 to 71 is where we're at. We've gotten rid of 20. And we just go down the list of our favorite 100 game. We encourage you to do it too. It's kind of fun. Yeah, play along. And also, if you don't have 100 games you haven't played yet, live a little. Go outside the box. I don't know what I'm trying to say. Anyway, let me get to this email real quick. I love to do emails. Thank you. Email us at videogamedads@yahoo.com. And know that if we don't respond to you immediately, we will. I usually do it right before we record, so I'll get to you soon. But we had a couple people now. I love this. They're kind of joining in to the Pop Hundo, letting us know their top 100. This first one, you might recognize this name. This is Rich Bergen. He is actually,
Rich.
Rich. Thank you for listening. Fellow podcast host, and you want to call him an OG. If you guys don't know this, he's the DJ. He is the creator, collaborator, one of the minds, the guy that keeps it going on a podcast called The Video Game Show.
Yep.
Yeah, The Video Games Show. It is probably one of the longest running video game podcasts. He was doing it before it was popular. We always kind of say that as a joke, but like he literally did. You should check. He's on like episode 10,000 or something like that. Him and the guys.
They have more episodes than Stars in the Galaxy.
Yeah. Yeah,
or something.
Not family friendly, but listening friendly, if that makes any sense. Rich Bergen's got a great radio voice. Him and the guys have a great rapport. They've known each other a lot.
It's all those St. Louis dudes.
Yeah, the St. Louis guy, the guys we kind of know from Mo GameCon or how we learned, but they've got a lot of knowledge. I love listening to them and catching up. I try to binge them every once in a while here and there. And it was funny when he sent out this email. I was like, I just listened to your last episode, and I always kind of want to email him. And but anyway, yeah, here he is. So check him out. Video Game Show. This is an email from Rich. Between my obsession with true crime and horror review podcasts, I thought to myself, I wonder what the dad's crew is up to. And I switched from Android to iPhone a couple weeks ago and resubscribed and listened to episode 65. The vacation story was great. Many reminders of road trips and things like that back in the day. Armed with comic books and my Walkman and my Batman Tiger handheld. It was so good and nostalgic. At least that's how I remember it.
Yeah. You were wrong.
Yeah, it wasn't.
I had that same handheld. It was poop.
I think it was the fact that he got to go on a vacation. He didn't have to plan it, right?
Oh yeah,
like you got to not have to worry about what you were going to plan and get your Airbnb and whatever the heck else. But anyway, he says, since I'm back on iTunes, I do have a 5-star review he left for the show, so he's more than happy to do that. So, hey, thank you very much. It's an authentic one. He's not spamming it. They got to make sure, so we appreciate that. Thank you so much. We love a good 5-star review. If you feel we earn it, we will read it. He said, here's a quick list of my 100 to 91 games. No explanation, just the list. All right, number 1, he has Frogger's Adventure... 100. Frogger's Adventure, Temple of the Frog for the GBA.
Yeah.
Haven't played this one.
I haven't played it. I actually have it, but it's in my backlog.
See? Interesting. So that was his 100. Then, man after my own heart, Woody Pop for the Game Gear.
That is a total bin pick.
That's awesome. I love it. I freaking love it. I love it.
I don't know. You're allowed to say Woody Pop on this podcast?
Well,
I'm just kidding.
As long as the context is there, right?
Game Gear context. Yep.
Yeah. So, if you're saying, like, if you're mixing it with our enhancement joke before, then the censors get a little too...
Yeah, Woody Pop comes with a restraining order, I think.
Which Woody Pop, again, also, I found that late in life. I like that game a lot. I really like that game. Next, 98, he's got Super Back to the Future Part 2 for the Super Famicom. Never played it. I love, again...
That's the one that Wizard Production makes that has the little flux capacitor in the cartridge.
Yeah. So again,
I haven't been able to get one of those. But someday.
Yeah, these guys have been listening. If you need more video game talk in your life, like I said, give a Video Game Show a listen, because these guys know their games. They talk a lot about it. Like nice, fun group of guys. But you can already tell from the 3 of his list. Just quirky stuff.
Some good deep cuts.
Yeah,
there.
97, Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy for the Apple II.
Whoa.
Again. If somebody is listening to this podcast right now is like, yes, I agree, Rich.
The one Matt guy is just like going bananas.
I know, I love it. And then Spy versus Spy for the NES.
I actually liked that game back in the day.
And you know that pick. And let's see, I'm wrong. Rich can correct me, but I'm guessing, Rich, you got that, and then you just played it dry, and then it's not like you rented it and then you wanted it and loved it or something like that. I love it. That NES games, a lot of people's favorites, which would be low on the list, are games that you bought on impulse and you just were forced to figure out. And then what do you know? It's in your top 100.
Spy vs. Spy, I remember being super confusing.
Yeah, that's what I'm like. If he
he
just watch him say like, no, I just played it 2 years ago and it's in my top 100. I'm guessing it's a nostalgia pick. Next is, am I saying this right? Zillion for the Sega Master System. Zillion 2. And then that's 95. 94, we have Midnight Resistance for the Genesis. I'm ignorant. I don't know what that is.
I know that I have played that. I think it's a side-scrolling, like, well, I think I might be getting it confused.
So as soon as he sent me this email, I read it late at night, and I like looked these games up, and I was excited to play them. And then because it's been a while since we recorded, I have forgotten to do so. So like these are all games that if you're listening, go ahead and give them a look because I'm guessing they're cool. Here's one I definitely know: Alan Wake for the Xbox 360. They just remastered this. I wonder what Rich thinks of that. I've heard okay things from the remaster.
Midnight Resistance. I was thinking it was kind of like a Contra game. And
it is. Yeah. It is. Okay. Alan Wake, really cool game for the 360. Then next is Quick Step for the Atari 2600. Never played Quick Step.
Can't say that I have.
Yeah. Nope. And then 91, Adam will like this one, Neo Turf Masters for the Neo Geo.
Whoop! Yeah. Best golf game ever.
I agree. I agree. Very good. He said, anyway, keep up the good work. Hope to see you guys all at Mo Game Con. Yeah, I was checking. This obviously is an older thing. We weren't able to go to Mo Game Con. This is our first year. We missed it.
I was work. Yeah.
I unfortunately could not make it either. It stunk. But, we made it so many years. Of course, that was the year Cool Toy went out there, and I love looking at his content. But hopefully we'll be there next year. We sure plan on it. But anyway, yeah, check him out. Thank you so much for the email. And I have an update, too, because when he emailed that, it was right after we recorded, but before it came on, so he was waiting a long time for that. And I said, hey, send us our next 10 because I'm already at the next episode. So he did real quick. He said, hey, Ben and crew, here you go as requested. 90 through 81 from Rich Bergen because that last list was so good. Number 90, Armed and Dangerous for the Xbox. Great pick. Great game. Love that game. Really.
I have no personal experience with that one.
Anyway, check it out. We'll keep moving, but Armed and Dangerous. I hear you on that, Rich. Blazing Lasers for the TurboGrafx 16.
That's a great pick.
Nice.
88, he has Tempest 2000 for the Atari Jaguar. Very good.
That's a good pick. It wouldn't be on mine, but I could see how it could be on
87, he has Gimmick for the Famicom.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
A lot of people really like that.
Yep. 86, Etrian Odyssey 3 for the Nintendo DS. Funny, I own this game, had it sealed, and then sold it because it's not my type of game, but I've heard wonderful things. This is a Nintendo DS game, Etrian Odyssey 3. Okay, not my type of game. Heard good things. Sean, our resident JRPG.
Not familiar, though.
Okay.
Yeah, it's an RPG.
I remember you saying you were going to sell it, and I gave it a passing glance and thought,
Well, now you know. It's the top 100 on Rich's thing. What'd you do that for? Next, DuckTales for the NES. Great pick at 85. NHL 94 for the Genesis at 84.
That's a good pick.
Strikers 1945-2 for the PS1 at 83. Rich has Shining Force 2 for the Genesis at 82. And at 81, another one. This is like right at the end. Adam's going to be like, yep. Castlevania Symphony of the Night for the PS1.
Oh, yeah, that's a great pick.
Yeah.
Strikers 1942, or 1945, too, or whatever. That's a good pick, too.
Yeah.
I'm not
Strikers
familiar
games
with that
are good. It's a vertically scrolling World War II era shoot 'em up.
Yeah. Great freaking list. I kind of want you to keep going, Rich. Keep sending them in. Sending them in. Thanks so much. Okay, so that's people playing along. And then this next email, I'll just read from here. This is the last email I will read. Otherwise, I will reply, and we'll talk about them next time just because we're getting short on time. This is from Jordan. Hey, guys. Here's my 80 through 100. Keep the pace up with you. Tough task. Keeping the pace up. 100. He had F1 Race for the OG Game Boy. Nostalgia pick for sure.
That had a 4-player link.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep.
I remember playing that one on the bus.
Yes. Super nostalgia pick for me as well, Jordan. Great pick. Cruisin' USA for the arcade.
That's a good pick.
Awesome. I love these arcade. He's got 3 in a row. Miss Pac-Man for the arcade at 98. Next one he has Dig Dug Arcade. Love it. Tecmo NBA Basketball for the NES. This is great. Jordan, I feel like you and I would have been playing video games together if we lived in the same neighborhood. Love Tecmo NBA Basketball for the NES. No one talks about this. I love it's in your top 100. He said also, little bro and I spent a ton of time with this game. Pretty tough to go back to. Chris Mellon was OP. Okay, this is a deep cut. I am telling you, Starks for New York.
I'm all about the Hornets, man. I like to put Gaddison as my power forward and Larry Johnson as my center. Still good enough to block shots faster than any other team. For
Tecmo
NBA Basketball. With the Hornets, put Gaddison at your power forward, Larry Johnson at your center. You can still block shots and you'll outrun everybody.
Hey, that's great. That's awesome. Awesome picks. My guy was just his 3-point shooting. It was him and the guy for the Cleveland Cavs. Price?
Craig, Elo, and Mark Price.
Mark Price is a big three shooter, but it's great. Yeah, Chris Mullins was great. That's hilarious. Such a deep cut. Sorry, the listeners, we lost talking sports. We got to do it every once in a while. Next, he has Gran Turismo 3 A-Spec for the PS2.
My favorite Gran Turismo.
Awesome. So, Virtua Fighter 2 for the Saturn at 94. He says, felt like bringing the arcade home for sure. Yeah, Virtua Fighter 2 for the Saturn. One of the best Saturn games. Totally agree. Wave Race 64. Totally agree with that too. That also recently released, right, for the Switch stuff.
Yep. Yeah, on Switch Online.
He's got Halo 2 for the original Xbox. Wild Gunman for the NES. Ice Hockey for the NES. I love it. So far, these lists are like us, where they're like, you know what? Nostalgia. He just picked Ice Hockey. He knows Ice Hockey. Which one is wonderful?
That's actually a really fun game.
It's a fun game, but come on.
I personally, my NES game of choice was Blades of Steel.
Yeah,
absolutely. Yeah.
But Ice Hockey is a good game.
Which one's Wild Gunman? That's not familiar to me.
Wild Gunman is an old light gun game.
Yes.
No kidding.
They had an arcade.
It's the one in Back to the Future.
Yeah, Back to the Future. That's a baby's
toy.
No
yeah,
kidding.
That one. Yeah.
Yeah, that scene with the baby's toy. Yep, there's Wild Gunman. It's either difficult or I feel like it was real fat. I haven't
played it in a long time.
Yeah. But anyway, Ice Hockey's a great game. I'm just saying. I just love. He's like.
Unless he's talking about Wild.
Fat, skinny, regular start. Yep, it's true. You got the fat one, the skinny, the regular. I love it. Sonic 2 for the Game Gear. Faint but fond memories squinting his way through that game. Yep, Sonic 2, great. Game Gear Sonic games are awesome. Bases Loaded for the NES. Nostalgia goggles. He puts these little quips on. I agree. Defenders of Oasis for the Game Gear. I hate to say this to you, Jordan. I sold that game last year. I didn't play that one. I just saw it was worth a good amount of money, so I just kind of sold it. But now I know it was a top 100 game. It probably would have been mine if I played it. Hadn't played that. Dinosaurs for Hire for the Genesis.
That's a good pick.
That's funny, right?
Yeah.
85, he's got Candy Crush. That's interesting. His only mobile game. I swear I sank so much time. Figured it's worth a mention. I hear you there. Mine was that Jurassic Park mobile game. I got no weird Candy Crush thing. But here's why it's not on my list, Jordan. Because looking back on it, it feels like how I would look back on heroin. Like
I'm waiting for somebody to say Farmville on one of these.
Yeah,
you guys remember Farmville?
I do, but I feel like all these games were really good at was harnessing our little cortex and our axons and dendrites and making it like, okay, you know how sugar gets your brain going? What does drugs do to the brain? Okay, let's put that into a digital form. Like, that's the thing. Candy Crush is awesome, but I felt like I was coming down when I was off of it.
It was Candy Crush and Words with Friends. They were around the same time.
Yeah.
And I remember I'd be playing, 10 different Scrabble games with 10 different people at the same time, and it was maddening. It took...
next level. Gotta do it. Yeah, gotta unlock this.
Yeah, never again.
Yeah, I know. It's funny, though. I get it. Okay, 84, Donkey Kong Classic for the NES. 83, X-Men Genesis. I already know, Jordan has to be between 37 and 41 years old.
Yeah.
It's I know because these titles are hilarious.
He's speaking my language. I know way too many of these games too well.
Yeah, X-Men for the Genesis. Great game. Marvel Ultimate Alliance 2 for the PS2.
That's a good pick.
81, he has Tekken 4 for the PS2. Very interesting. I wonder if he has a different Tekken higher.
That's interesting. Tekken 4, because most people go Tekken 3.
Yeah.
On PlayStation, or they go up to one of the new Tekkens.
So
they're picking favorites.
Then my guess is he's got more Tekkens on his list. like farther
he
down.
might, yeah.
That's my guess. Because I get
most
that.
people will tell you Tekken 1, Tekken 3, or Tekken 7 or something.
Right.
One of the new ones.
Right. Right. And then Star Ocean for the PS1 is his last pick. He's like, I'm sure it'll evolve, but this is my start, he says. So awesome. Really appreciate it. That's Jordan's list. So send us some email. We love that you're playing along with us, and we'll try to read some of these on the air. All right. Sean?
Absolutely.
What do you say? What do you say you go down the list? This is your pop hundo.
I'm stoked. Number 80, I've got Metroid Zero Mission, which is the best Metroid game still, I think.
Agreed. Yeah, best 2D Metroid game.
Nobody's perfect. Go on.
Number 70.
I think I've already said Zero Mission. That's another double.
I think that is a duplicate.
Oh, yeah.
I think so.
I don't have my list for the doubles.
Yeah, I think that's a double.
I've got a couple of duplicates here. I think we had Arkham City, Mortal Kombat, and Inside.
Yeah, we had a few. I
Inside.
lost my thing to keep my doubles. I'll transfer it over. So Zero Mission.
Dragon Quest 3 on the Game Boy Color. It's been hard to resist putting a Dragon Quest game up to this point. Finally got my first one there.
Dragon Quest 3. Interesting.
Game Boy Color.
Real quick, do you play a lot of Dragon Quest?
Oh, that's my go-to series. Absolutely, it's a mindless, portable.
Yeah, they got
sit
those
on the
little
couch.
blue drop-looking guys.
Yep.
Yeah. I just feel our listeners need to hear this because 67 episodes in, we have spent as much time.
I know squat about Dragon
We have spent more time talking about enhancements on this episode than Dragon Quest on our entire series of this podcast.
Well, that's
so
a fair
if you have
distribution, I think. I
Well,
mean, enhancements are important.
They are, but I'm saying, if you have something to say real quick about Dragon Quest, go for it.
Dragon Quest
what is it?
What is it to
was
you? My first
What is it
series that I cared about that did not have Mario in it. So it was my first franchise.
That's huge.
Yes,
That's
it
good to
was.
hear. That's good to hear. I don't know crap about Dragon Quest outside of it's a game.
Dragon Quest 3 was especially important because I had my first console was the NES because we were a little ways behind. So NES up until 1998.
Yeah.
And so I'd played Dragon Quest 1 and 2, which were kind of cheaper. 3 and 4 are a little more expensive. And so finally I got to play 3 on the Game Boy Color in 2002 or 2003.
Wow, okay.
Something like that. But it's very important because it's the first chronologically of that trio. So I was waiting years to kind of finish that story out. So 3 is huge for me on the Game Boy Color.
All right, next.
Number 78, Ninja Spirit is my favorite PC Engine game. Number 77.
It's a good pick.
Yeah, it's a great game. Little pricey these days, unfortunately.
Yes, very pricey.
Number 77, Magic the Gathering Arena on the PC. That's a not recent last week, but recent within the past 3 or 4 years. I've spent a lot of time playing that.
My brother plays that game.
I'm a big Magic fan. I don't play it as much as I'd like, but I am a big fan.
Yeah, I'm never going down that rabbit hole.
Don't. For God's sakes, please don't. Number 76 is Death Squared for the Switch. I believe that's my first Nintendo Switch game I've talked about.
That used to be one of the rare Switch games. Or maybe the rare Switch game.
At one point, and I think it's been reprinted. And
it has been reprinted 2 or 3 times now. Still fairly rare, though.
My copy is the world version from Asia, the worldwide Asia.
Yeah, the Australian version is the one that's really rare.
Number 75 is Pokemon Stadium. Was just excited to have a home console Pokemon game at some point, and I didn't have it. My friends did. We went over to that person's house repeatedly. Number 74, Twisted Metal Head On. I know it's
cool.
Twisted Metal people hate that for some reason.
No.
There's a reason, and I don't remember what it is.
I don't think there is a big reason. They didn't play it. Twisted Metal Head On is thought of well.
Was it ported from the PSP to the PS2 or something that was just a little off or different that makes people leer at this one a bit?
Yeah, you're right. They did port it to the PS2 afterward, and it has something a little extra on the PS2 that the PSP doesn't have, or vice versa. But no, it's a great game.
It's got extra content, and it's got a preview of maybe Twisted Metal Black or something in there, and you can actually play as a Sweet Tooth in a weird third-person demo on the PS2.
Yeah,
it's very strange, but love that game.
No, it's an awesome game.
Speaking of battle cars, number 73, Battle Cars for the Super Nintendo, one of my favorite Super Nintendo driving games.
Man, Married Guy Gamer would love to hear that. If you're still listening, thanks for listening.
Number 72, Clash at Demon Head for the Nintendo Entertainment System.
It's a deep cut.
That game is better than Metroid on the NES.
Huh. All right.
Better than Metroid. And number 71, I actually got this one.
Look, and we're not trying to embarrass you. There's an actual cricket in here. So if you're hearing a cricket and you're listening to this, it's kind of hilarious.
Yeah, I know. I'm not sure
feel
what cricket is.
The cricket's commentary is kind of scary.
I know. The cricket's kind of like...
we like the cricket.
Yeah, it's funny. So anyway, we're out in the country. Every time I visit Adam and we drive out here, I think I'm going to hit a deer. We're out in the country, folks.
I think we're going to be able to pet a deer out here someday.
Yeah, you're right.
You practically can. Yeah, they're everywhere.
Every time I go home, I'm just like 50-50. I'm going to hit a deer. There's so much deer out here, man. It's crazy. Okay, go ahead. Sorry.
Number 71, I got maybe a year or two ago from Adam and played it for the first time at his recommendation. It's called Last Story for the Wii.
Oh.
And what we like about that is that my wife can also participate, but not as like a full participant. Like she can kind of control a little reticle on screen for some kind of collectibles and things, but she doesn't have to be fully invested, and that's her kind of multiplayer. So we've spent a lot of time playing that little beauty of a Nintendo Wii game. And that's my picks.
Awesome. Cool. I like it. Nice. I love those picks. Great picks. All right, Adam.
My go? Okay.
Your
so
go.
So my first number 80 pick is Super Mario 3D World. This is my first Mario game that I've picked.
Oh, I was going to say, like, you played, this is your first Mario game you
No,
played?
no,
Made it a long time, yeah.
Yeah, no, so this is the one that was originally released on Wii U and then migrated over to Switch.
That's
also
right.
with Bowser's Fury. I've played through this game, I think, 3 times or so.
Oh, cool.
It's super good. It's nice to see. It has these nice little levels to it. It's kind of like Mario Galaxy.
But not as open world. That's why you like it.
Well, I like Galaxy better.
Oh, okay, shoot. Dang it. This is one of those times I was like,
No,
we
spoiler.
finish each other's sandwiches.
Spoiler.
I messed.
Spoiler alert. But no, it's really good. It's one where Mario's got the little cat suit, you know?
No, yeah.
And so it's fun. Grayson really likes playing. You can play a multiplayer with the kids.
Yeah.
And that's actually, I've had a lot of fun playing a multiplayer with him. So,
Bowser's Fury was a really nice add-on to it.
Yeah,
It's pleasant
it is.
to
It's a
see,
nice
not
add-on.
just a straight
and it looks really good. It plays good. You know, it's one of those nice polished 3D Mario games. My next one is, which, you know, I probably shouldn't say this, but I actually like Mario 3D World better than I do Mario Odyssey. Like if I had to pick, I'd pick this game over Odyssey.
For what it's worth,
But
I'm
probably the
completely
only
on
person
that
that's
same
that way.
train, but I would say it's close.
But
for me.
again, it's because Mario Odyssey is an open world game. I don't like going from star to star in the same level. Like I want I want levels.
I feel
you. Know what I'm saying?
I feel you. Yeah, I know. But to me, then I would, if you would have picked any other Mario game, I would be like, okay, I see it.
Yeah, I don't think
but,
Mario
like,
Odyssey is going to show up
at all.
Because for me, it's a step in the wrong direction.
Really?
Yeah, I really don't like it that much.
All right.
Yeah. So sorry.
No.
Sorry for all the Mario Odyssey.
The cricket has questions. I
Yeah,
can
I
know.
He's
No,
very
I just,
upset.
I mean, no, it just makes me think about it too, because I haven't played it in a few years, to be honest with you, and I love Mario Odyssey.
No,
but,
I like it. It's not that I don't like it. I just like this game better.
No, I hear you.
It's the second best Mario game or
on
second best Mario platformer on Switch, behind this one.
Yeah, I mean, it makes me. What it does is, you know, because you tell me about movies, and I watched that one, that Alien one. I really liked. It makes me want to go back because here's the thing: the 3D Land. I played it with Sebastian for like 20 minutes, and because he doesn't have the attention span to stick with the game, I then dropped off because I never played it back in the Wii U game. So I've yet to really play it. But I just remember when my son was born, he was sleeping, I played through Odyssey, and it was so enjoyable because it made me realize, as a dad, I can still enjoy games. So I've already got nostalgia. So I think I have nostalgia for Odyssey because it reminded me of
Odyssey, everybody thinks
64.
Odyssey is the best 3D Mario game ever made. But actually, it's fairly far down on my list of Mario games in total, and especially 3D Mario games.
Yeah.
But in any respect, Mario 3D World, it's got an overworld, each individual little levels, you know. It feels more like playing Mario 3 or, you know, Super Mario World or something like that. My next pick is Final Fantasy Tactics A2 on the DS. And so I wanted to pick one of the Final Fantasy Tactics games, but this one's probably my favorite. It's got a ton of depth to it, a million different characters. A lot of customization options. There's classes of characters. You can change classes. There's a million quests. There's a million side quests. This is the kind of game. This is one of those games that if you had to pick a single game to have to play, this might be it because it's got so much replay value.
Yeah. Your desert island pick.
Yeah, kind of. So it's a really fun game and it's easy to pick up and play. It's hard to get good at and it has very easy superficial depth and it has a lot of depth if you're into that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
My next pick is Pac-Man. I mean, in Pac-Man, I'll throw like Mrs. Pac-Man, just like Pac-Man generally.
Arcade, right?
Yeah. I specifically mean the arcade, but like Pac-Man Championship, the Pac-Man Championship 2, both on modern consoles.
No, you got to do other pick. You got to add that as a different pick.
I know.
I'm just throw the flag.
No. I'm just saying original Pac-Man's my pick, but everything that has come from it. If you want to play it modern, play those other ones too because they're super good.
I hear you.
My next one's Wave Race 64.
Nice.
And that's just because. And I've actually been playing Wave Race 64 on the Switch. You mentioned that it was released on Switch Online. I've actually been playing it with Grayson some over the last few weeks. Still super fun. Still really good. Plays good. Great water physics, etc.
Yeah,
this one I'm kind of double dipping a little bit. I've got NBA Jam, but Tournament Edition, and I'm also wrapping NBA Hang Time kind of into the same thing, but like that whole thing. I mean, I guess if I had to pick one, I'd probably pick NBA Jam Tournament Edition.
Okay, yeah, because I would say between NBA Jam and NBA Jam Tournament Edition, you could say that's the same game, but Hang Time's pretty different.
It is. It's same sort of game, I guess. Right. But I spent more time with the original NBA Jam, so
yeah.
So I'll pick that. For obvious reasons. It's just a ton of fun. My next one is Turok the Dinosaur Hunter for N64.
64, great. Yeah. Okay, yeah. I have a lot of nostalgia for that game.
I do too. This is mostly a nostalgia pick.
Yeah. I don't go back to it, but I've
actually been playing it on Switch here lately too. But I just remember being just astounded by how big the levels were, if that makes sense. How fast you could move and how big the levels were.
Yeah. It's like being in London all the time.
It is. I mean, the levels are. I mean, they're ungodly long. The levels. They should have really broken them up.
The fog plays.
That's where the fog plays. On Switch they got rid of all the fog. You could see a mile away. Yeah.
Ruin the whole atmosphere, probably.
But so you're fighting dinosaurs. You got a bunch of weird guns.
You're looking down while you're jumping.
You're looking down while you're jumping. You're moving. You're moving with the C buttons.
Yes.
And looking with the stick. I remember that being weird,
But we adapted.
We did. I adapted. Made me a better person.
And those guns were
builds
awesome.
Character.
They really were. Yeah, the guns really were cool. And the other thing about Turok that was cool, if you ever do play it, there were a lot of interesting cheats in Turok. There was pen and pencil mode or whatever, where it removed all the textures and you just had wireframe.
Yes.
And so there was all this like fun stuff you could do with these cheats on it too.
I forgot. Yeah.
But my next pick is Unreal Tournament for PC.
Okay.
And Unreal Tournament, the original Unreal Tournament, still the best, in my opinion.
No.
It's still the best online multiplayer deathmatch.
A lot of people swear by that. I was not in that. I was not in the Unreal bubble, but so many people swear by it.
And part of this is because it's probably the only one of those that I was actually somewhat dominant at.
Okay.
So I was pretty good at it versus most other online deathmatch kind of games.
It is a horrible genre for me. I don't think those will make
but this was one of the ones I was only ever that I was good at. So that's probably taints my view a little bit. But runs super fast, just a ton of fun. I can pick it up and play it right now. I can just play against the bots and have a ton of fun.
Yeah.
Love that game.
And keep in mind, no earmuffs needed. He said taint. All right, go ahead. Sorry. It just stopped me like a deer in headlights when you said it.
My next one, it taints your...
sorry.
All right, so the next one is Star Fox for the Super Nintendo Super FX chip.
Hey, you just made up for everything you said about Mario. We're back to friends.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So Star Fox.
So good.
It's still a ton of fun. I still play through Star Fox at least once a year.
And I know why people hate it. The slowdown, it's on rail. I don't care.
That's what makes it good. I love it. I even to this day, like I could pull it down off the shelf, play it right now, play all the way through it, never die, and probably never even get hit.
Whoa, you're better than me.
Yeah, like I have muscle memory for this game. I'll play through it like just about any time and probably not even get hit during the entire game.
That will be a repeat spoiler. I mean, not yet, but it's on my list.
Yeah, but Star Fox is up there. And,
I love it.
And I like Star Fox 64 a lot, but I still got to go back to the Super Nintendo version, the original version.
Yeah.
My next pick is Mega Man X, another Super Nintendo.
Oh yeah.
And that's because I played the Mega Man games on NES when I was a little kid, but I was too young back then to be very good at them. So I played a lot of them, and I would rent them, but I never could beat them or get real far into them just because the old Mega Man games...
No, they're tough.
They're hard.
They're super tough.
And Mega Man X was the first Mega Man game that I brought home, and I actually beat. You know, there was a method, you know, I figured out like, oh, you have to do the bosses in this order, and oh, there's these energy tanks. There's a lot of stuff to explore and find and a lot of secrets in this game, and I just remember it being... Personally, I played that at a time in my life when it was kind of like taking a next step as being a good gamer, and Mega Man X taught me a lot. So I have it on there for that reason. And then the last pick, this is kind of partially because we're getting around Halloween too, but this is also where it belongs, is Until Dawn for PS4. Supermassive game.
Oh yeah.
And it's basically a visual novel walkthrough. Kind of Telltale Games kind of game.
Yeah.
And I like a lot of those Telltale games and things, but this one isn't janky. It's well programmed. It's acted well. It looks really good. It's interesting. It's fun. It's basically I Still Know What You Did Last Summer or Scream. It's this type of thing. But it's really fun. It's campy. It's stupid. But it's done really, really well. The same studio just released The Quarry, and it's on my list of games that I need to buy or play. But it's still $60+ to buy it right now, and I'm not going to buy it until it goes down a little bit in price. But I really want to play The Quarry just because I like Until Dawn so much.
Awesome.
Nice.
Awesome. Yeah, I never made my way through Until Dawn, but I've heard such good things. I don't know. That's on like a bucket list for me.
It's on my list. I had to try to replay through this month.
All right. So my and this is 80 to 71 of my Pop 100. First one, and this did come out as a double pack, so it kind of counts. I'm going to do Guitar Hero 1 and 2 for the PS2. If you had to put my gun to the head, I'd say Guitar Hero 1. Guitar Hero 2 is great, but nostalgia-wise, these things are now at big popularity again. But back then, I remember I was obsessed with this game. It was so much fun to play.
Are you making your fingers bleed?
Yeah, on that plastic and those colored buttons. It just, the time I spent with that and how good it felt to do that and how it felt like a different video game thing. Guitar Hero, that is great. Not much to say about that. Next one is Tetris Effect for the PSVR, also the PS4. This game is amazing. I've talked about it before on the podcast. I think it was like my game of the year, which makes it kind of funny. It's kind of low on the list, I guess, but definitely in the top 100. What an experience this game is. If you're going through things, if you're just having a rough day, man, you just put this on.
It's just like a trance game.
It's a trance, yeah. And
it's proof of the Tetris effect and how it works in your brain. Tetris translates to everything.
Yes, you're right. Yeah, and yes, you're right. And this game is a monumental task. The creator who did this, did all those other music games. We talked about this at length. I met him in person. I geeked out like I met the Beatles. When I saw him at Portland Retro Gaming Expo. But Tetris Effect, can't say enough about it. I do think the PSVR version is so amazing. Of course, if you can only play the PS4 version, you'll like it. But it's the difference between going to a movie theater and watching at home, I guess. It's just amazing. Next, Portal for the PS3. Loved Portal. Of course, Portal 2 is wonderful too, but that original Portal game that came in as a pack-in with Half-Life, just amazing. And I didn't cop out, did I? I didn't say the orange box, because my next pick is Half-Life 2 for the PC and Xbox. Half-Life 2, I wasn't a big first-person shooter fan at the time, And this would make people who don't like first-person shooters like into this game. I loved Half-Life 2.
What's the other game in the orange box? There's a third one, right?
Team Fortress.
Team Fortress.
Yeah, which is great too.
Yeah.
And Orange Box, honestly, you could put this on the list. I split them up because both of these games are so good. They just deserve their own spot. Gordon, what's his name? Not Ramsey.
Gordon Freeman.
Gordon Ramsay.
Gordon
Carrying a 2x4.
I would play that.
Ow, I hurt my back with that laugh.
Yeah.
Sorry. And it's Gordon Freeman.
Gordon Ramsay, like, critiquing
I would play the shit
about
the
how
snot out of
dirty
that
they're.
game. Yeah.
It's funny because it's obviously Gordon Freeman with a crowbar, but nostalgia-wise, as I get old and demented, it's going to be Gordon Ramsay with a 2x4. Okay.
Cussing out the other scientists about how they're sciencing wrong.
Oh,
yeah.
God. Okay, 75. Super Mario Duck Hunt for the NES. I love this game. I know, hopefully this is high on your guys' list, but just a ton of fun. Super nostalgic. First Nintendo game I ever had. It is wonderful. I just have a lot of other Mario games that I can play that are a little bit more fun, but talk about amazing game. Can't say enough about it. Next, the original Halo for the Xbox. Also another one where, like, I don't play a lot of first-person shooters, but can't go wrong with Halo. Super nostalgic pick. You can get it in the collection. You can play it on Game Pass. What can be said about Halo that hasn't already been said? Next one. This was the same as... This is why I laughed earlier. This was one of our listener picks when they gave their list. Tecmo NBA Basketball for the NES is my... What is that? 73? Let me count down. 9...
I forget if you were on
8,
4 or 3.
7, 6, 5, 4. Yeah, that was 73. So 73 Tecmo NBA Basketball. So much fun, so much nostalgia playing this fun game, but only going to be on weird people's lists like myself and Jordan, I guess. My next game, stop me if you guys have played this, Guacamelee.
That's a good pick.
And I did the 1-2 punch for Switch, so I can put both of them on there. Love Guacamelee. Absolutely love it. If you like Rayman games, this is like Rayman meets Metroid. I remember I love them. A lot of these games are games on my list that I played, and after an hour, I just couldn't stop playing it. I had something else to do. I got to keep playing it. And by the time you stop, you smile when you're like done and you're finished, and you're just glad it happened. It's like I'm describing my damn wedding. Jesus. You think I like video games. My next one, very immature pick. This is 71. Conker's Bad Fur Day for the Nintendo 64.
Nice.
You know, I've been listening to the soundtrack with my kids.
Have you?
Yeah, they love it.
The Great Mighty Pooh.
Yeah, if they don't like
no,
that song,
there's
are they
another
even kids?
song. I mean, there's the one that cusses, you know, with the Mighty Pooh.
Yeah.
But there's another one where it's like this old swanky jazz music, but there's like fart sounds through the whole song.
Oh yeah.
And
They probably eat that up.
Oh my gosh, man! My 4-year-old, she just dies when that's on. She thinks it's the funniest thing that's ever happened. Yeah, it's pretty great.
Yeah, Conker's Bad Fur Day is great. I know they redid it on the Xbox. It's probably better or whatever. They got rid, but yeah, Conker's Bad Fur Day. I'm so glad that game happened. What a crazy game. And then my last pick, number 70. Number 80.
No. 80 through 71 is 10.
Oh, I have to stop?
Yeah, sorry, man.
Wait. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Oh, I've been off by 1. So I still have 1 left.
Oh, okay.
I've just been saying my wrong numbers.
No,
out
I
loud.
apologize for interrupting.
So
you.
if people don't know, I have my whole list, but I didn't put numbers next to it. So sorry. No, thank you for stopping me. I'm glad I get to throw this last one in. It's very timely. I kind of feel like this should be way higher on my list, but I just want to get it out because it's Halloween season. Costume Quest for the PS3. This game is now delisted. It's really hard to get, but the reason I'm also putting this on my list for you guys to see, you can play this right now. They never made a physical form of Costume Quest, but if you have Xbox Game Pass, they have timed this as a freaking Disney Vault release. Have you heard this, Adam?
I haven't heard this. No.
So during the Halloween season, for the next 3 weeks, it's going to be on Game Pass, and it's on there right now. The original Costume Quest. Costume Quest 2 is great. I bought that. You can buy it in a physical edition. It was like limited run, but the first Costume Quest is my favorite Halloween game of all time, and definitely in my top 100. So much fun. Have either of you played this?
I have not.
Okay. Can't recommend it enough. It plays kind of like a turn-based RPG, which is hilarious because, like, I don't like those games.
No, that sounds right up my alley, especially if it's got a sense of humor, which I imagine it does.
It has a sense of wonder, and that's why I'm just stopping on this one a little bit to talk about it. That's the best way I can describe it. It makes me feel like I felt when I was trick-or-treating when I was a kid, and it's the only game that's ever made me feel that way. Movies don't make me feel that way. Watching old commercials can do that, but this is the only game that like kind of transported me back into feeling like a kid trick-or-treating, because it basically starts out as kids going out trick-or-treating, and then it turns into a whole adventure, and that's all I'll say. But it's like as nostalgic to me as the Great Pumpkin, Charlie Brown, or whatever. Costume Quest, one of my favorite games of all time. You need to play it. I'm done selling it. That is my Pop Hundo list for this episode.
It's addicting to get started. Once you think it's intimidating at first, but I think, Benjamin, I think you gave the best advice, which was just go start looking at each of your shelves and just start kind of towing certain ones out that you think may or may not make it, and then you sort of get addicted to it. After it's hard to pick just 10. You just want to make your whole list.
Yeah, exactly, and it's kind of fun because then in a fire that's 100 seconds long, and you have enough time, you know which ones you're going to grab.
1 second per game because they're already towed out. No.
Yeah. Okay, 102, 103 seconds for the rest of the family. We'll do that.
That's fine. Well, they can get out themselves.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Is that how that works?
Yeah, that's exactly how that works. All right. Well, we have to pick our video game book club picks for our next episode. Should we do that, or should we do our handheld hollow?
Let's do video game book club picks.
All right, video game book club picks. This will be one listener pick and one dad pick, as per usual. The listener pick will be picked at random out of our randomizer, but first we'll do our dad pick, and our next pick is going to be Adam. And we've jumped around so many different systems. Adam, what system are you going to pick from for our video game book club?
So I was scrolling through some games the other day, and there's a game I played as a kid, and I haven't ever played it since, and it's been one of those games I've always wanted to go back to see if it still holds up. And that is Illusions of Gaia for the Super Nintendo.
Okay.
And as I recall, this is like an action adventure RPG. It's I believe it's an Enix game.
Yeah.
Kind of before it was Square Enix.
Yeah, I'd put it in top 25%, but I agree it's not in the top 15.
Yeah, I mean it's kind of a more popular game, I suppose. But I've wanted to go back and play it for a long time, so I'm going to take the opportunity to go back and play it again.
I think that's
and see
a good
if
pick.
It still holds up.
Yeah, I think it's a good pick. I have always heard about this game.
I remember loving it back in the day.
Yeah, I've heard about it, but like I don't know anybody that plays, so I do think this is a good book club pick. Maybe other people are like that with me, or some people get nostalgic. Okay, Illusions of Gaia, book club pick, and you want to go back to it. I want to play it for the first time. Have you played it before?
I'm a big fan. Spoiler alert.
Okay, well.
Yeah, I remember it being really good. It's sort of like if you like Zelda, but it's maybe a little bit more linear than a Zelda game, as I recall.
Dude, sounds up my alley. Cool.
But yeah, and it looks good. It plays, from what I remember, it plays good. But like I said, I remember it being one of the first RPG-ish kind of games I ever played that made sense to me, and I really liked it back when I was a kid.
I'm so surface value. You know what kept me from playing it? The cover. I remember seeing that cover and being like, okay, what's that? I'm moving on.
Gaia was like a big thing in the RPG. It's like everything was like Gaia or mana or
how about this? As a kid, I didn't know how to pronounce that word. I saw it and I was like, okay.
I think it just means earth, right? But
I have no idea. Is that what it is?
Earth spirit. Like the Gaia is, I think, yeah.
Yeah, something.
Didn't know I was going to learn something today. I like that.
Yeah, there you go.
But yeah, I just remember being confused by all that stuff when I was a kid because I was like, what are all these weird words? Why are you talking about mana? What is that?
Yeah.
Mysteria.
Exactly.
I'll try to take out my bias. It's been several years since I've played it. I'll try to take out my bias and be critical.
Yeah. So anyway, I just want to play it, so I'm playing it.
Awesome. Okay. And all right. And let me do our randomizer. Remember, if you want to send in our video game book club picks, just send a email. Email is the easiest way to probably get a hold of us. You could send us another message or DM somewhere, but email with a little spiel of why you are picking this. It just can't be in the top 15% of whatever system library you have sent. And this, okay. Oh, All right. So our pick, this has been in the hopper for a little over a year at least. Glaylancer, if I'm saying that right, for the Genesis by Finnegan.
Pew pew.
Finnegan, thank you. Yeah. Pew pew. So that means it sounds like a shooter.
Yeah, it's gonna be a shooter.
Awesome. I'm excited.
It's a pretty good game. I haven't played this in a while, but I remember good things.
Nice. Glaylancer. All right, Glaylancer by Finnegan for the Sega Genesis. And Adam, your pick?
Illusions of Gaia.
Illusions of Gaia for the Super Nintendo. Our video game book club picks for next episode.
Groovy!
Okay, time for our final segment. It's that time for our
Handheld
Yeah, boy. All right, that's right. Our handheld holla. We just, it's self-explanatory. We give a little holla to our handhelds. Handhelds don't get talked about enough. There's a great library out there. A lot of you people who never played it growing up, you're missing out. We do include the Switch. You can go all the way from Game Boy, Game & Watch, Sega Microvision. Why was it say
That's
Sega
my
Genesis?
favorite
Game
one.
Gear,
The N-Gage.
the Gamecom. There's so much.
Our zone.
Yeah, handhelds are wonderful. People don't give enough love, and we always try to
handheld.
Yeah, anyway, so you can pick from whatever. It could be popular, not expensive, not expensive, whatever. This is free reign. We just want to shout out a handheld game, give you an opportunity to maybe get a game that you haven't heard of, played before. All right, Adam, what is your handheld holla pick for episode 67?
So it's a DS game.
All right.
That's Trauma Center Under the Knife.
Ooh, sell it to me.
So it's like an anime game where you're doing trauma surgery or doing surgeries with a stylus.
All right. And you don't need any training.
You don't need any. You have to go to school for 10 years.
Can you imagine? Can you imagine?
And then you can play this game.
This is the training, really. That's what it is.
Yeah. This is how they train surgeons.
Wow.
Yeah.
All right. Awesome.
So you too can be a surgeon if you just play this game.
Awesome. It's as easy as that, folks. I thought you had to do it by going on
I haven't
YouTube.
played it in a long time, admittedly, but I remember having some fun with it. But yeah, you have to make an incision, and then you have to fix the thing, and
Yeah, I played it for the Wii. I never played the DS.
Yeah. I played it on DS and Wii, but I remember. I mean, it's a similar experience. It's all like,
dun, dun, dun,
dun, dun, dun.
Yeah, it's like
it
danger.
has the. Yeah, it has you hear the heartbeat in the background, and then there's dramatic music, and then it's oh my gosh, doctor, he's bleeding, and then you have to grab the sponge and stop it.
Yeah, it's like Grey's
so on.
Anatomy. It's a little over dramatized.
Just a hair.
Yeah,
Barely.
but I mean, popular people love their. You know how many medical dramas they've made. I mean, there's tons of them, and they're all woefully inaccurate.
Yep. So this is an Atlas anime medical drama.
Yeah.
Essentially, where you get to be the surgeon.
Yeah, except ER.
It's fun. I mean, it's a fun diversion kind of game. I mean,
yeah.
Easy to pick up and play. Have some fun with.
Awesome. Not too expensive from what you know.
I don't think so.
You don't have to look it up.
No,
if you know it's not super expensive.
I don't think so. It is an Atlas game, but I think that they made a lot of copies of these games.
I think so.
I don't think they're that bad.
I think, and a lot of people don't think they're like a hospital simulator. So many people. I feel like everybody should know what the trauma center games are, but I see so many people just randomly on YouTube be like, "Oh, what's this?" And I guess it missed the boat on some people. But anyway, I digress. All right, Sean, handheld holla pick. What you got?
I went DS as well. Snood 2. It's kind of like Bust a Move, cheap, super cheap Bust a Move for the DS.
Yes.
And Snood is one of the 3 games that either of my parents would have ever played on any console. They played it on computer, so weird nostalgia for playing Snood with my parents.
It's like the Minesweeper for the generation behind me.
It's exactly what I was going to say.
Yeah.
It's like Minesweeper.
Yeah, it's like the Astro Pinball.
Yeah.
Of the computer.
Space Cadet Pinball, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. I remember coming home inebriated and in college and playing it, or someone was playing it in the dorm all the time. Yeah, I remember that.
My parents, to this day, the last time they got a Galaxy tablet or something, they made me find an illicit copy of Snood online to put on their Galaxy tablet, and it controls really good, honestly, with the touchscreen.
Nice. So now we know Snood is like the solitaire for your parents.
It
now.
is 100%.
Yeah, Snood is the
Put the solitaire on my tablet,
On
son.
the Nintendo. Play the solitaire on the Nintendos.
Sorry, that's probably not how your parents talk. I'm just thinking
Snood
like
sounds like a generic sleeping medication.
yeah.
It's an enhancer. It's not a medication.
It's like I'm having trouble sleeping. I'm going to take me some Snood.
Yeah. What's that? It's like Tylenol PM's RC Cola.
Yeah, exactly. It's a Tylenol PM. You might wake up, you might not. Snood. Yeah.
It's okay. Snood. Yeah, not every first world country
Snood.
keeps it legal.
And the jingle's like Snood because you don't have money.
Yeah.
It's the Dollar Tree variant.
It's the Dollar Tree variant of Tylenol
yeah,
PM.
Dollar Tree medication. Kind of touchy, man. Kind of iffy.
It's a little iffy.
Yeah.
You might get too much. You might get too little.
Yeah.
You might be getting more for your money, though.
I know, but some people love it because every time never fails. There's an empty package on the ground.
Somebody's like,
so it makes me think somebody wants it. If somebody had a headache and didn't have $1, and
if I steal from the Dollar Tree, is it a lesser offense? I think that's the conclusion.
You'll always be in the misdemeanor category.
Yeah. Very safe.
Well, now that it's $1.25, that's the thing, right? Have you ever been to? You've been to Dollar Tree. It makes me think now. Before I just like throw everything in my basket, but now I'm like, that extra quarter.
That's one less item out of 5 items. You're out of $5. You know what I mean?
Exactly. I wonder, like, you think on Black Friday? On Black Friday they're gonna have throwback prices?
Speaking of cheap shopping, did you know they're putting in a 5 and below on Metcalf?
Oh, good.
I saw that.
Yeah, I did too. I knew you would be excited.
Dude, I love Five Below.
Yeah.
It's like, absolutely. I tell you, it's like a way to bring your kids to a store that's fun for you and them at the same time. Like, Five Below is great because, like, if my kid's like, hey, I want this, I feel like, I feel like that rich dad, but I'm like, yeah, it's all cheap. Sure, get it.
And I got like Risk of Rain 2 on the Xbox One.
There's sometimes games there, yeah.
One of the Yokai watches for the 3DS, like, it's usually garbage, but every once in a while there's something worthwhile in there.
I buy stupid stuff there. But to be honest, one of their best deals are their candy, because their candy is actually still a deal. Five for a lot of their stuff's like more expensive, but you can get like 5 or 6 for $1 or something like that if you're going to a movie store or something like that. But they've always got fun stuff. All right. Back to the section at hand. My pick, the last dad pick, before we conclude here, my handheld holo pick is going to be a PS Vita game.
Ooh.
And technically, this is kind of not a. I mean, this is also, I think, on like PS3. I actually only played this for the first time this last month. I was obsessed with it. I thought about putting it in my top 100. I talked to you about it on the way. I love this game. It went under the radar, and I randomly enjoy it and love it and think it's great and played it for hours. Pixel Junk Monsters for the PS Vita.
Oh, yeah. Those Pixel Junk games are pretty good.
Yeah, I always saw screenshots of this and thought, oh, this is a Pixel Junk game I might not like, because all the Pixel Junk games are different. Shooter, Eden. Pixel Junk Monsters is actually a tower defense game, which I am hot and cold on some. I like some. I like Advanced Wars isn't like one of them, but this is like my favorite tower defense of all time. I absolutely love it. It's honed so well. It's tight. It's kind of like the Gran Turismo of tower defense. It's just like perfectly honed, so addictive, so fun. Give it a try, and it is great portably. You can't really buy it physical, I don't think, especially for the Vita, but it's like either super cheap or free, or I found out that I got it for free on PlayStation Plus forever ago, and I popped it on. I just like played it like a kid incessantly for many days, and it's a ton of fun. There's still other levels I need to beat, and it's a huge game. So Pixel Junk Monsters for the PS Vita. Sorry it's not a physical pick, but it's good enough for me to put it on the handheld holla. All right, guys, what do you say? Is it an episode? I think it's an episode.
It's an episode.
All right. Sorry, I said I was going to read iTunes reviews. Next time, give us an iTunes review. We really love it. 5 stars if you think we are worthy of it. If you think we are worthy of the price of free, we will be back as soon as we can. We try to do this monthly. It's been a little while. Have a happy Halloween. Have a safe Halloween. Make sure to put blinders on and don't eat any open candy. And the saltwater taffy, just throw it straight in the trash. What do you guys say?
Sounds good.
Episode 67.
It's in the books.
In the books. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you all.